Oh, hey, yo, hey, yo. What's up, everybody? Super blue blood moon, whatever. What's up, Marc?
Hey, how's it going?
We're here.
I am here.
We're live with the super blue blood moon. I don't think we're actually going to be able to see the blood part because I think that's mostly a West Coast thing. I'm not sure if we'll be on the air.
Can we see the moon part?
You can see the moon part. No problem.
Oh, good. I'm glad we can see the moon part. That's important. That's right. Very important to see the moon part.
We got some clouds passing over, but according to Paul, they are clearing and moving out finally. So that's not only good for tonight, but it's also going to be good for tomorrow night as well. So, what's new, Marc? How's the radio show going?
Well, I had one broadcast this past Sunday night from 9 to 10, just an hour. And they were mentioning how they could easily foresee this going to a 2-hour show. Listen,
don't take this as an insult. But with the way you talk, how did they not put it at a 2-hour show right off the bat?
Well, you know, here's the thing. When you're doing like a stream like we're doing here with you, a live stream is one format. A radio show is a very different format because you don't have visuals to occupy people when they're listening.
Yet.
Okay. Yes. Well, actually, that's changing because we're actually going to be starting a visual component to Sky Tour Radio over at KGRA very soon.
And I should mention
as
tonight
Sunday
that we are being simulcast, the video anyway is being simulcast over on KGRA's YouTube channel. The video from here, it should be on shortly, if not, and they're going to be running the KGR shows in the background on YouTube. So if anybody wants to check that out. Which is why we have the nice KGRA banner up in the right-hand corner tonight. I'm not going to put the scopes up. I'm pretty sure everybody knows the scopes by now. For anybody that needs to know, there's an 80mm and a 70mm wide field scopes that we're using, and he is using, what did he say that one was? Probably the 9.25 scope. The CPC is probably in use as well, just in case we get some edges and whatnot. He might go in on them a little bit, but for the most part, I'm pretty sure we're going to be mostly wide field for the night because of the super moon.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So
I'm looking forward to it. Huh?
I said so. Welcome.
Oh, that's very good. I think everybody's going to have a fun time tonight.
Let's hope.
You know, there's almost 100 people today already. It's like 91 and counting.
Yeah,
95.
this happens every time when there's a celestial event, you know, where it's super moons or meteor showers, you know. And if it goes around in the mainstream news and it gets like hyped up, you know, you're gonna get your normal crowd just coming to check it out.
Yeah.
Which is fine, you know.
Yeah, I'm really pleased. It looks great, you know. And as soon as the weather clears up out there, it's gonna be a little bit better looking out there. We'll be able to see a better moon, and it'll be really, really nice. And I'm looking forward to it. Because
Paul just texted me actually, and he said about 10-15 minutes, and then we're clear with the clouds.
Awesome.
So there you go.
Yeah. Now, you know, the other night on Sunday night we went, like I said, only an hour, and the funny thing is, in that hour's time, KGRA, the ratings on KGRA shot up to number 3. So for a debut show, it didn't do too badly. We actually got number 3. It's a very good sign, which I was so surprised, and I'm so humbled by this. You know, Race Hobbs is a man who's just wonderful. Okay, I've met Race. We've been friends for several years. This guy started KGRA from scratch. I mean, he practically started in the back of a car. All right, and it turned out to become this, as I say, the blowtorch of the paranormal and UFO industry. And then, you know, Sunday night rolls around, and he offers me a slot. You know, 9 to 10 is a pretty good slot, you know, and I was just like so humbled by that, you know, and I'm glad that now I can actually continue doing what I do for the live stream, but do it on the radio. Right. And we're going to be also doing this video component as well. And that's going to be kind of cool because when we do the video, we're going to be able to have a camera that I have running so I can actually show visual stuff at the same time as talking about stuff. So when I talk about red stars, I could show them a red star, you know, and I could show them, you know, things like that. Because again, Sky Tour Radio is about the universe. It's looking at the universe through the eye of science. And this is something that's absolutely needed. I think that believing in UFOs and just saying the word "I believe." Okay, like Fox Mulder. I want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, a belief is based on some factual data. You hope, but in the UFO world, it's not necessarily true that it's based on factual data. Sometimes people have had an experience, which is a truly subjective experience. No one can say it happened. They have no proof, but they know what they felt. They know what they saw. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why James, Fox did that movie. I know what I saw. Right, same thing. James is a great guy, good friend, and he has a movie he's working on right now with Lee Spiegel, actually. And Lee is doing a lot of the work for him. And Lee Spiegel, for those that don't know, he was a former science guy at Huffington Post. He was a science writer. I did a lot of stories with him on UFOs at Huffington Post. And he left to pursue doing this thing with James Fox. And it's really nice, and it's going to be great for him, I think. So, when we look at the sky, the whole point is people don't look up. They just look out over their dashboards as they're driving from place to place. Mm. And the only thing that actually brought people's attention to the sky was the advent of the dash cam, which was meant to settle insurance claims for, people getting, in accidents and stuff.
Especially in Russia.
Exactly. Because vodka plays a big role over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so, and incidentally, there's a wonderful video online that actually shows you, it's a compendium of all the shockwaves from that meteor strike when the shockwave hit the ground. Mm-hmm. And you see literally whole garage doors getting blown in as if it was a nuclear blast.
Yeah, that video was amazing.
Incredible.
All the amounts of, number one, the amount of video there was of it, not only just of the meteor itself, but the actual effects of it from the boom afterwards. Yeah. I mean, hundreds of videos of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, yes, David Schmidt, you're right. Or they're looking at their phones. That's correct. And while driving, I should say. So that's another problem. But those sonic booms are more than sonic booms, obviously. They're actually literal shockwaves. And these shockwaves are compressing air along their front as they're moving. And it's that compression of the air that actually causes this violent impact. When you were a kid, you had there were these guns that you could pull this little plastic membrane back and then let go of it, and it would pop a puff of air, and you could do all kinds of cool things with it. And it was very directed too. When you did it from like 10 feet away, it would knock down bowling pins. Not the light plastic bowling pins. Right. It would knock them down. And that was a kind of a thing that you could do, and that actually shows shockwaves. And if you could actually see that shockwave, you would see it would come out, and as it comes out, it's getting wider, and it goes wider as it goes farther. So as it propagates, it gets wider, and that's what happened with this. It really made a tremendous spread over the area, and it blew out windows, it set off alarms, it caused accidents, it hurt people, and flying glass actually cut up a lot of people.
But a lot of people's eardrums that were close to it.
Yeah, I mean, and close to it was like 90 miles, okay, because it was fairly high in the atmosphere. Maybe it was less than that, actually. I think it was probably 60 miles up when it actually exploded. But think about it. Something that high, blown up in the air, could cause that kind of damage. Now, you could see how the Tunguska event, which was a small comet, likely, probably bigger than this object was, all right? Mm-hmm. This came into our atmosphere, and when it hit that wall, basically anything entering our atmosphere is entering at several tens of kilometers per second. That's fast, especially when you could be at the ground in just a few seconds at the speeds these things are coming in. Right. But the atmosphere acts as a wall, and it begins to slow them down, and that means the friction increases as that motion is turned into heat. All right, because energy can't be created or destroyed; it just gets transformed. Yep. So as this big thing comes into the atmosphere at high speed, many say 30 kilometers per second, as it's slowing down, it's heating up because the air is causing the frictional coefficient, which is actually causing the thing to heat up. The kinetic energy is getting turned into thermal energy, and thus that happens. Now, as it reaches a certain altitude, there's only a certain altitude it can get to at a certain speed, at a certain angle of impact on the atmosphere where it'll actually stay intact. And that's actually a place that's called the maximum aerodynamic pressure. The maximum pressure on that meteor, when it's reached, anything that can get past that will survive to the ground. But usually, like we saw in Russia, if the meteor is big enough, it will explode with a violent shockwave.
And it did.
It did, didn't it? Right? I mean, some of those videos were just amazing. Now, this is important because we're talking about a meteor that was only a few, what was it, 20 or 22 feet across or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the moon here on this image. Every crater you can see was immensely bigger than the object that blew up over Russia. Every crater you see here was immensely bigger than the meteor that struck in Arizona at the Barringer meteor that made the Barringer meteorite crater. That was the Barringer meteorite, remember? A meteor crater in Arizona. Every one of those, and every one of the craters you see here was far bigger than the impact crater up in Canada, which is now a lake. So, the moon is not very large, relatively speaking. It's just over 2,000 miles in diameter, right? So I think that it's important to understand that things that we see on the moon are huge compared to what the Earth has had happen to it. And the Yucatan impact at the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary, that's the 65 million year distant death of the dinosaur asteroid hit. Okay, it used to be called the KT boundary. It's not anymore, but it's the KPG. But at that impact, I mean, that meteor was only about 30 miles across. And, it left a crater that was around 100 and something miles, about 120, 130 miles across. Okay. If you look on the moon here, looking for a crater that big, you could see it. All right. And a crater like that, all right, we see craters like that all over the moon right here that we see. But those craters didn't have the same kind of impact on the moon that they do on the Earth. And when you look at the Earth, that one impact on the Earth changed the course of life on our planet. So looking at that with that perspective, when we see the moon here, we see a battered satellite. And many of those things we see could have been the death of us.
Easily.
Yeah. So that's sort of a.
Well,
I wasn't trying to make a monologue, but go ahead.
No, that's absolutely fine. I just want to say hello to everybody in the chat that's hanging out tonight. There's a lot of you, I see.
That's good. Take you like 10 minutes to go through it all.
Yeah. A lot of new faces we haven't seen before. Thanks for the person that shouted out that Paul had the wrong date on the scope. He fixed it. I texted him, so he fixed it.
Request a night.
Yeah. So one thing we're going to get into, and I want to find this out from chat because I think I have a pretty good idea. Type the number 5 in the chat if you are here looking for UFOs, because I know there's a lot of you. Because this stream breeds UFO hunters, which is fine. That's great. Let's find.
I saw a white thing across just to the left earlier.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been
my mouse.
No, your mouse. Yeah, your mouse pointer.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, just the full moons are really crappy for imaging the moon, but they're really good for wide field viewing, saying catching satellites, UFOs. Yeah. Even a plane that happened last month that scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, I know you were scared to death, but I thought it was funny as heck. It was a really nice capture, though.
So since there's a lot of people watching this and watching for UFOs, that seems to be a big thing. We're gonna talk about UFOs, Mark.
That's fine. Look at Journey Duncombe, JB.
Yeah, we're gonna talk
MMT.
about moon exploration.
Yep.
What we need to do, why we need to do the moon instead of Mars.
Okay.
And I think it'll be a pretty good conversation anyway. Now,
it's your show, Keith. You go where you want.
So one thing, anybody that's just now joining us needs to know: we do not define this channel by UFO hunting or aliens or anything like that, but we don't dismiss it either. We will try our best to find out what something is if we can. We try to cross-reference and everything. We have Marc here that we run information by to try to identify stuff. We would love for some saucer to come in the screen, make a 90-degree turn at supersonic speed, and that would just be awesome for us.
Hypersonic speed.
Yeah, hypersonic. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. If it did, hopefully you all would be here for it. So we're not one of those channels that jump off, real quick, and everything that crosses the screen is going to be, aliens ready to abduct us. Do we hope it happens? Sure, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure Marc can back us up on that. If something like that happens where it's just something totally unexplainable, shifting directions, where there is actually a shadow on the moon of whatever the object is, we would be ecstatic.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, with that being said, I believe that I'm a believer that we are being visited in some form or another. I believe you are as well. Am I correct?
Yeah, actually, on the show this past Sunday night, I ended the show by discussing what I thought could have been interpreted as a parallel universe intersection, where I actually ended up encountering a creature, a dog or some such thing, from a parallel universe, which sounds so stupid, but what it did to me was physical. It did physical damage to me because I was working on a special effects prop for a movie that I was working on at Douglas Trumbull's studio, and Doug and I are good friends. And Doug Trumbull is the guy that many of you know is responsible for the UFOTOG project, which is the UFO TOG. It's actually a UFO hunting system because he is a big avid UFO hunter, just like I was. That's how we met. And then we're working on UFOTOG 2, which is the successor to that, which are these little platters that we want to put all over the world. And we're making slow progress on that, but Doug is very particular about who he lets invest and stuff, so it's taken more time. But when we talk about UFOs, all right, we want to find evidence that actually is irrefutable. Getting a cell phone video, you've seen cell phone videos, Keith, where you have UFOs come across and people say, look, there it is.
And don't get me wrong, some very, very interesting.
Yes, I agree. All right, I agree. But we watch these, okay, and we see people, they send them to me. All right, I'm the Mutual UFO Network's chief photo and video analyst. Now, on my background, of course, I joined the Mutual UFO Network when I was 11 years old. Back then it was called the Midwest UFO Network, and its name changed later. And then now I'm their chief photo and video analyst.
By the way, can I add this in real quick? I forgot to give Marc his nice credentials and whatnot. Joining us, for anybody that doesn't know, a lot of our regulars know Marc and the stuff that he does. For the people that don't know, joining me tonight is Marc D'Antonio. You can catch him on NASA's Unexplained Files, What on Earth. He is a professional astronomer. He does have a Sky Tour radio on KGRA on Sunday nights at 9 p.m., as well as the Sky Tour live stream here on YouTube. That should be back up and running sometime in March.
We're still uploading. We're still uploading stuff.
Uploading. Live streams are going to be back up in March.
That's right.
So, just a brief history of who we're talking to now. If you guys have any questions for him, go ahead and type them in the chat. I'll try my best to, see them. Marc, I'd ask you to do the same, just because
Yeah, I'm in the chat too, so I have it on a separate screen.
Okay.
So I'll be able to help out if anyone wants to know what's going on. But no, as Keith said earlier. When we're trying to find UFOs, okay, there's a lot of really bad videos out there, a lot of terrible videos, but all of them that were taken by the person who took them is the definitive proof. You see, I get that all the time, and I have to tell people, and it's my job to tell people, I'm sorry, your video the object in the video may have done everything you said it did, zigzagging and going up and down, but what you show in your video doesn't prove it. And what am I saying? I'm not saying they didn't capture it and they're lying. I'm saying I'm saying they didn't capture what they thought it was doing. Mm-hmm. So I think that's important to understand, because I never tell people, oh, you're a liar. I don't do that. I do that only for the people that want to go down a flat Earth path, okay? Because that's just stupidity, okay? And one of our shows on Sky Tour Radio is going to go into that. We're going to take that apart piece by piece. Oh, yes.
I had actually had a conversation with a flat Earth guy the other day, and he was real respectable. And he was
That's
just having
good.
a conversation about it, and I was like, I don't mind entertaining, intelligent conversations about it. But I made the point at the very end. I said, listen, anything that you come up with that you quote unquote can prove that the Earth is flat, I can give you the counterpoint to it and prove that that's not the case. Anything you say,
Yeah, in fact,
can prove it.
In fact, you don't even have to say you can prove the counterpoint. What you can do is say anything you show that proves to you that the Earth is flat, I can show you evidence to actually counter that fact and show that perhaps it's not.
Right.
All right, you don't even have to say it's really round, it's really flat. Getting down that path with these kind of folks just doesn't work.
Right.
All right, look at the moon. You see what you're looking at right there on the screen. What we're seeing here is a spherical body in space. Yeah, it's a spherical body, and the lights on the craters that are now gone. The lights on the craters actually, show that the light as it falls in the crater shows that. And I can't get into how perspective works and everything. And just to try and show this, part of the reason that you and I actually did this, Keith, we actually are 3D printing craters on the moon, on Mars, and even on Pluto. All right, actually in the asteroid Ceres, on Mercury, we have the NASA data, and we can print almost any crater on the moon, almost every place on Mars, and select areas on Pluto that New Horizons saw when it went zinging by, and on the asteroid Ceres. So we're doing that because when you get a crater, you can actually take one light source and angle it on the crater and actually see all the really strange things that happen when the light falls on it, from low elevations to high elevations. So right now I'm working on, there's that famous X on the moon. You familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
At certain lights, you see this X at a certain spot in the moon. It's where these series of ridges meet.
Right.
But it looks like an X, and it's a well-known feature. Well, I'm working on actually recreating that on our crater sets, so that people can actually see a really a cool illusion and see how it happens just with an actual model in front of them.
Right.
And that helps people. So we create these 3D craters, and if you want to learn more about the craters, you can look in the description. I think on this stream as well. I think 3D moon craters. There it is. Yeah. Well, I'm not here to hawk craters, but what I am here to do is just to tell you that we made those for educational reasons, to be able to show people how craters actually look on the moon, because these are not exaggerated, and you can actually see the depth to the craters and actually feel the craters. You don't even have to look at them. You can just run your fingers across them because they're made of that hard plastic. We've made them very it's actually a urethane resin that they're made of, and they're real, and they're from NASA data. So we take those craters and we actually reproduce them. Like right here, Tycho. Okay, the crater Tycho, which you can see right there on the right-hand side of the screen. I believe it's going to stay there for. I'm 30 seconds behind, so I have to hope it's going to be there. So we have Tycho, and you can see how Tycho's a crater that happened in the highlands of the moon, where it's actually higher in that area of the moon, and when the meteor struck the moon, it gouged out this hole, this crater that became Tycho, and showered the area around with all this ejecta, that is stuff that came out of the crater on impact. And this ejecta forms these rays that you see there on the screen, and that stuff goes for miles, sometimes hundreds of miles. Okay, and it's because the gravity on the moon is only 1/6 that of here. There's no atmosphere, so anything that gets air or spaceborne above the moon, okay, we call that up into the exosphere of the moon, because there's no atmosphere, so it's an exosphere. So once these particles go up into the exosphere on the moon, they can go for miles and miles and miles before they come back down. That's something that we see often, and that actually, if we know what the material is, we can basically calculate a lot of things about the moon based on the length of the rays and things like that. I actually did a bunch of calculations originally about all this, because I write computer programs too for doing stuff like this, and I wrote one that for my last show. I actually wrote one that would give us a scale size solar system. If the sun was a certain size, how big would the distance to Pluto be? And as an example, if the sun was made a half inch in diameter, half inch, it's really 865,000 miles across. If it was made a half inch in diameter, Pluto would be 211 feet away. But Alpha Centauri, the nearest star system, would be 274 miles away on that scale. So even making a model, quickly goes into astronomical terms. So, when we talk about like the moon, for instance, people have to understand that when there's no atmosphere and 1/6 gravity, it just doesn't have the same results a meteor impact does. And it's really interesting this way. I want to just say something. John 23Z, you said, moon does not rotate on its axis. Actually, it does. It rotates around once every time it goes around the Earth. If it didn't, we'd see a different side of it. So it's actually, and that's correct, C-130. I love that plane. It's one of my favorite planes. Tidally locked is exactly what the moon is. It's tidally locked. And that tidal locking actually is assisted by the fact that the moon is not spherical. Yes, I know, it looks like a ball. But the internal distribution of the mass on the moon is off-center. The moon is more like a football, believe it or not. I mean, that's a huge exaggeration. But the back side of the moon, if you saw the far side, there's highlands and there's craters. There's no maria like you see here. The maria are the dark gray areas that are the result of meteors striking, and when they do, the moon basically is cracked. And when it was younger, it was molten underneath, and this molten, this magma below came up as lava and flowed across the moon for quite a distance, as we can see. And so on the dark side, that is to say, and there is no dark side, but on the far side of the moon, there are no maria. And that's very perplexing. And in fact, as soon as you get around to the far side, all of a sudden there's no maria. I mean, it's very obvious. So yeah, that was a big perplexing question for the longest time. And I've answered this question in SkyTour live stream, and I've answered, why that's the case, actually on your show, on your show too, Keith. Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious if anybody remembers why the dark side of the moon, or I should say the far side of the moon, is actually, covered with craters but no maria. And we'll leave that for later if someone can think about it.
But and there is a reason.
There's actually a very good reason. Well, you know what? I have to say, in all honesty, there's a theory. There's a theory. Because, look, we weren't there. We didn't see it.
Right.
But the fact is that the moon, formed around the same time as the Earth, shortly thereafter. And I do one of my lectures that I do. I have a roll of toilet paper, which you've never seen me do, Keith. And I think that would be you'd laugh your butt off if you watch this, because
I think I did see it. There's a video of it.
Oh, somewhere. Maybe on a video. Yeah, you're right, on a video. But what happens is, on a 117-foot roll of toilet paper, I actually put the entire history of the Earth. So on like the first few sheets, okay, you see Earth forms at the very end, and then a couple sheets later you see Moon forms. Well, what happened in between is very important. But you see, that's in our ancient history. We don't know exactly what happened. We don't even know. Dang, Joe's. It's 4.58 billion years ago is sort of when we think the Earth formed. And when that happened, shortly before that, or shortly after that, the moon was formed. And we know that by looking at the composition of the moon and so forth. But here's the theory. The theory is that a Mars-sized, and you've heard this too, Keith, I believe, a Mars-sized impactor hit the Earth, and of course, it disintegrated. Of course, it melts when it hits, and there was a massive, collision. But part of that quote-unquote splash of material was this gigantic debris field of molten material that ended up coalescing in a ring around the Earth that likely then went away. As this ring material started to coalesce and go around the Earth more and more, it was still hot and it could coalesce. And so finally, with tidal forces eating up a lot of the material and making them come back to the Earth, what was left over could form the moon. And when the moon actually formed, you would think, well, then the moon should be composed of Earth material and this impactor material. Right. But yeah, we'd think. but the moon doesn't have impactor material. It just looks like the Earth. Okay, now, albeit different, obviously, because the moon has no atmosphere. So without an atmosphere, surface regolith, that is surface soil on the moon, is irradiated and changed chemically by this radiation and basically the power of the sunlight. Yep. Okay, but so it looks different, but it's actually pretty much the same composition as the Earth, and that's always been a perplexing thing. So how could that be if there was some kind of impactor that broke off the moon? Because right. You would imagine it'd be a blend of the two, but apparently it could have been in the nature of the collision. It could have been perhaps that the impactor hit in a glancing blow, and the bulk of it continued on out of the solar system or got absorbed into another planet, but left enough debris behind that basically skidded off our own Earth, that it left mostly Earth materials behind. Right. And that's possible.
Let me ask you: do you think NASA gets a bad rap just because they are the face of space for the United States?
Oh, absolutely. And part of the problem is in their eagerness to be open. Okay, it actually fuels the opposite. It fuels conspiracy guys and girls because they look at the moon and they look at the NASA accomplishments and all the public information left by NASA, and they poke holes in it. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, nothing will be good enough for the conspiracy folks that don't believe we went to the moon. Nothing will be good enough for the people who think that the ISS is an optical illusion, which is so laughable. I mean, I can't understand how science could fail so many people on that front. I mean,
it's quite amazing, isn't it?
It's the science, though. See, I'm not making fun of anyone who believes this stuff. What I'm doing is indicting the system. I'm indicting the science system because at this point, they already have their beliefs. Well, their beliefs were made over years of seeing bad science and getting poor information. This is something that's a problem for me because I would love to see people, circle the wagons around science and say, I think science is the most important thing. Science is what's going to get us off this planet. Okay, it's not going to be, trying to, supplicate the alien beings to come down and rescue us. That ain't going to work. So it's going to be the rigorous application of science that's going to get us off the planet and save us from the time when the sun actually goes into red giant phase. Right. And that's don't worry, you don't have to pack your bags now. That's going to be about 4 to 5 billion years.
Yeah, but still. I just think like most people don't realize that they wouldn't have the lives they have today if it wasn't for NASA.
That's right.
Their
that's right.
And it's questionable whether we'd be sitting here on computers streaming the moon live if NASA had never been founded.
That's right. When they went to the moon, the computers that were, if you want to call them computers, the binary machines that were on the lunar module were ultra simple. All right, something that you wouldn't even play a game on today because you would think it's so outdated. Right? Yet this is what saved these guys' lives. This is what got them to the moon and back safely. Right. Okay? And it's hard for people who didn't live through that. All right? I'm 57 years old. I lived through that. I saw the Apollo age. When Apollo 1 occurred, I was just a little kid. But when Apollo 1 had that famous fire on the launch pad that killed Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Chafee, I was heartbroken as a little tiny kid. I was a toddler, and I was heartbroken because I loved space. I knew it meant something to me, and I knew that it was important to me and would be. And to see that failure made me feel like we'd never get there. And then a couple years later, we were back on the pad doing it again with some, no more pure oxygen in the capsule on the launch pad, guys. I mean, what a lesson to learn, because that's what caused the fire on Apollo 1, and it spread quickly because it was pure oxygen. So never again. So we live and learn, and if you live through that, you learn. If you don't live through that and you just look back, well, then you're free to make assumptions which are wrong.
Well, I just want to know when we became a society that, that you'd rather take, the word of some twat on YouTube than an actual scientist. You know what I mean?
Well, you answered your question there, Keith.
Yeah,
you answered your question because you said YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, there it is, right there. The YouTube generation, all right? I'm a YouTube generation now too. I mean, I use it. I utilize it as a tool. I look up stuff on YouTube, but I also am very discerning, as most people should be. Okay, I think all the people that come here, pretty by and large, most of the people here and most of the people watching are able to discern, fact from fiction. And there's some that are on the fence about whether this is true or this is true. I get it. I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem telling folks what I believe and what I understand in the science. They're free to disagree with it. And guess what? I mean, there are certain things that I know for sure, but I'm on the fence about a few things too. Like I'm on the fence about whether the universe is just one or many. I have a theory that it's...
but it seems like the conspiracy field has just blown up in the last 10 years or so.
Well, you can have YouTube to thank for that because, and other social sites, because social media has also blown up in the last 10 years or so.
Very true. And
in short order, so too does the conspiracy field blow up as well. Okay, so it's just the technology creating the possibilities.
What is it that Sagan said? When everybody has a voice, you have to be leery about the person's character or something like that. I forget what the quote was. It's like when everybody has a voice, be careful of the messenger or something. I have to look it up.
In fact, that quote from Carl Sagan was very important because without knowing it, he spoke to exactly what's happening now.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there are certain sites that we blacklist in the Mutual UFO Network that we will not even take anything from because they have a history of deceitful videos where they know it's computer generated or it's actually generated. Let's see, what was I saying? Oh, I lost my train of thought totally. How about that? I don't know what it was. I had an itch on my elbow and I itched it and all of a sudden my brain cell died and where'd it go?
Must be the hairspray.
Yeah, as if I use that. No, but as I said, going back a sentence or two, I think you're right. I think that Sagan's words were prescient. They actually had a huge impact, and they do speak to what's happening now. There's too many sites, as I said, where people profess authoritatively, this is what's happening. That is happening. There is what's going on. Don't let them lie to you. And you know what? How can I blame people for actually believing that? When you're told something in an authoritative way, you think it's true. And I've always told you, and you've done this.
When you hear, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, we see Nibiru. It's coming. It's in our solar system. It's going to crash into Earth. Prepare yourself now. Kill your pets.
It's in my workshop.
Else crazy stuff they're on about.
That's right.
And they say it and they almost I like to call it Jim Jones syndrome.
That's a very good point.
Jim Jones was so confident in the way that he spoke and the way that he just attracted people, and some people are really good at that.
Yeah, and I can't blame people for falling victim to it. Mm-hmm. So if someone says to me they truly believe the Earth is flat, for instance, okay,
right.
Well, I can't argue with that because they can argue with the world being flat, but I can't argue with their belief because their belief is based on something they learned from somewhere.
Right.
And as Neil deGrasse Tyson believes, as I believe, that when you have a system that has failed you, a system that has failed to provide a proper scientific education, you remove the ability to think critically. Okay, that's my observation, and I have noticed that critical thinking takes a back seat to a good YouTube video with lots of pretty pictures.
Oh yeah, easily. We proved it. We proved it here.
Yes, we did.
Let me explain to everybody what I'm talking about. About a month ago.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay. Me and Marc were talking about how the clickbait thing And it's like we were doing the same kind of broadcast, the same moon broadcast, but what I decided to do is to take an image of the moon and put just circling absolutely nothing, having arrows pointing to absolutely nothing on the image. Nice, colorful red arrows and blue circles and
look
stuff.
here.
And
look
I
here.
used that as the image for the stream.
Look
and I
here.
switched it up every night, and we did it for about a week. And the amount of people that came in here were just staggering. And we stopped doing it, and then it fell off again. Like, that's how easy it is to manipulate somebody into doing what they want, you know, and doing what you want. It's by simply adding colors and arrows and circles.
That's right.
And it's quite astounding, actually, when you think about it, that simple thing, which, I mean, we're not the first to figure that out. I mean, YouTubers have been doing it forever at this point. At first,
Yes.
they were showing, you know, bikini boobs under, you know, that weren't related to their videos at all, but people would still click it. You know, that's an easy click. But, you know, they realized when YouTube cracked down on that, they would have to do something else, and now that's all you see is, you know, red circles and arrows and titles that just... some of them are actually quite creative and amazing, and we tried that too for a little bit, which was actually pretty funny. But it's
I tried it too, and they shut down my stream until
banned
March. Actually,
months.
I have to explain that to those of you listening. I was actually I was trying to put together a stream, and I was going to actually do what I call a cloudy night stream. And it was going to be on the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter Quick Map browser.
Aristarchus is on screen. Just anybody wanted to know that area, that's Aristarchus Plateau right there. Go ahead.
Okay. And so when I actually prepared my video, I was trying to use this new broadcasting software. And what I did was I ended up writing a title for a video, and it was just temporary. So I wrote it out quick. And it came out like this: human remains on the moon, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter Quick Map browser, you know, proof that we were there. Apparently, I hit the record button, but in this particular part of the broadcasting software, when you hit record, it also sends it up to YouTube because you have all the information in there for the stream. So it automatically starts the stream and automatically sends it up there. I didn't know that. I didn't expect that. That wasn't even my title. So anyway, I go to stream that night, and I find out that I've been blocked from streaming. I've been demoted, basically. And I was like, "What? What happened?"
Now, this was just a title and an 11-second video of absolutely nothing, no sound.
Yes, right. That's the other thing. True, you're right. The video that went up was 11 seconds of test. So I get something back from YouTube that says, your video was banned for inappropriate content. You've received a community guidelines strike, and you're banned from streaming for 90 days. Yeah. What? What the heck was that? So I ended up, you know, appealing to YouTube, doing this, doing that. I even tweeted the CEO of YouTube a number of times, actually probably too much, and you know, got nothing in return from anybody ever. I appealed it, you know, because you could appeal it right away. So I did. And when I said I heard nothing back, what's going on? I got something back that said, well, if you think you were wronged, you could appeal it. And then Keith even said, he already appealed it. And I said, I already appealed it. Hello. Nothing. And they have all these pretty videos that say, oh, we're here to help you. Really? You know,
dude,
like, what kind of farce is that?
About putting blood in the title tonight.
Yeah, I believe you. You know, but let me tell you this. Here's what was wrong with my statement and my title. It wasn't supposed to say human remains. Even in my test title, it was supposed to say humans remain. An S, the letter S in the wrong place is what got me banned.
Yeah, you could have saved yourself a bunch of time just by putting humanity remains on the moon.
You know, at one point I had humanity, and I said, no, I don't want me to be too highfalutin. So what I did was actually I did just say, I actually thought I wrote humans remain on the moon, because I couldn't understand why an 11-second video would get banned when there was no content.
I know.
You know, and to be called inappropriate content, I was like, hello?
Yeah. I
mean, no one watched this, and they're trying to pretend they did. Oh, that gets me so mad.
The only person that watched it was the YouTube AI.
Yeah, it was a bot. I got botted.
I'll tell you what.
I got bot fly.
Yeah, right. Let me do some shout outs to people in the chat. We got a bunch of new faces tonight. A lot of people I don't recognize, but welcome to everybody that's here. I'm gonna go down the participant list real quick. I'll say the names best I can, but some of y'all got some crazy names. All right, so tonight we got 12 Feet Tall and, of course, Astronomy Live Stream. Dave out there, who also does live streams of sky and moon and whatnot. Definitely check out that channel if you want to.
In 4K.
Absolutely great.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we got Blaine and C130 and Chris Rupert and Dang and, of course, D, my Philly girl D. Dimas Grasas, I think that is. Earfront and Freeflug. Okay, Brian. I'm just gonna put it like that. Got off and Hustlecat and John and Joseph and Laura and Moocraft and Jello and Starzar and Steve Auto and Trucks. I think I seen Steve once before, maybe.
Starzar.
Yep. And Tenna, I believe it is. Or it might be Tina, but
and I believe it's P&K Space. I'm a gang. What's that?
Yeah. I don't know.
That's funny. No, don't.
Tony Walls, Venus, and Victor is who.
Tony Wells. Wells, get it right. It's Wells.
Well, is that what it was?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it was. Okay, my bad.
And Venus 1120.
And seeing D Boy, as he just popped in. Seems like everybody's popping in just to get a
shout out.
Dyke Riz X. I hope I'm saying that right. I probably totally.
I hope you are too.
Anyway, that's who we got. We'll do some more.
Nice.
But welcome to everybody that's joining us. We're all getting an education from Mr. Marc D'Antonio from NASA's Unexplained Files and One on Earth, and the Sky Tour Radio, and the Sky Tour live stream, and MUFON's photo and video analysis guy.
I'm the video guy.
You're an analyst.
Yeah, well. How can you actually argue with that? I mean, you're being funny.
Yeah, it's a kickback night. It's the Super Blue Blood Moon, and we're checking it out. So, Super Blue Blood Moon. Look at me. Do not chat. Oh, not the chat. Well, I think it's Super Blue Blood Moon. Yeah. Listen, I have to talk directly to somebody in chat right now because the other night was absolutely the funniest thing ever. And I am talking directly to you, Dave, Mr. Astronomy Livestream. The other night we were broadcasting and I was typing and I was trying to get his attention in the chat. Now he had said to me that his eyesight's not so well, so I'm guessing that's what this was all about. But I was trying to get, because remember, Mark, we had talked about bringing Astronomy Livestream on with the Astro Imaging Live stuff. Yeah. Because this stuff is that good. I mean, it's really good stuff. And I wanted to talk to him about it, and I was trying in the chat to tell him, hey, contact me via Skype or email or, whatever, so we can talk to you about this. I want to know what you think about joining Astro Imaging Live. And he saw none of it. I mean, I had everybody in the chat typing his name in all caps. Trying to get his attention, and he would come in and he would say stuff. He would say stuff in the chat, but
he's watching.
He wouldn't see. Like, it was almost like he was ignoring all of us. Like, didn't care at all. It was the funniest thing, and I'm like, he just might not be like actually looking at the chat. He might just come in, put some.
He might have just had it full screen,
like he's doing it now, right?
Yeah, he's writing all kinds of things, but then. Then he doesn't,
It's
great. See, MMT says, hey, Astronomy Livestream, and now we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, such a great guy, such a great channel.
I'm hearing
definitely
crickets.
Has the setup. Definitely go and check him out. Of course, Billy New York Skywatcher, he's got his thing going. He's going to be taking a little break here at the end of the month because he's got to go in for shoulder surgery. But once again, we are working on the KGRA live stream that's going to adapt with what Mark's doing with radio, and they're going to be adding a lot more stuff to that. So pay attention to the KGRA YouTube as well. I know there's a lot of plans for that. We're simulcasting on there tonight, just as kind of like a little test to see what's going on. But yeah, so
we're actually. I was testing with Bill, and maybe as soon as this Sunday. When I do my Sky Tour Radio,
Astronomy Live still hasn't acknowledged me. I don't even think he's listening.
I tell you. He probably has it turned down. He's probably listening to his own music. You know, that's okay. That's fine.
And
you know, he'll get it eventually.
Oh, D erased it. I was trying to see what that Astronomy Tonight says. So, Astronomy Tonight, instead of coming in and promoting your channel just off the bat, why don't you come in and tell us what you actually do? And, you know, let people check it out on their own. And if it's good, guess what? They'll flock over to you and subscribe to you, bud. Or girl, or, you know, I'm not sure if you're a guy or girl, but, you know.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have to just come in and say, come to me. You don't have to do that.
Especially if you're an astronomy channel, because we love to promote other astronomy channels. You know, one that aren't full of it. If you know what I mean.
That's right. No, hey, what are you saying?
I ain't mentioning any names.
He's not talking about
any
me.
names.
He's not talking about me.
I'm not talking about Mark. But, you know, I'm just saying, if you got a good channel, you know, if you stream it, they will come.
That's true. And no one could prove that better than I could, you know?
Yeah.
Because I started streaming and they came.
Yep.
And I don't know where they came from,
Yep.
but it was great.
And this whole thing started, and Joe is right, this whole thing started with Bill. Because I wouldn't know Mark if it wasn't for Bill. And
that's right.
And what was I doing? Probably the same thing as a lot of you guys are, is cruising through YouTube looking for live streams of the moon or live astronomy. Or, you know, that's how I found Bill and started hanging out on that channel. And next thing you know, it just so happened that we were doing kind of similar stuff because Bill was doing the moon at the time. He does a lot more open sky stuff now, and I don't blame him with the camera that he has. It's a magnificent camera for sky watching, especially for meteor showers and stuff. So, and then of course you have Mark's channel where they're going deep sky, galaxies, you know, stars, clusters, all kinds of stuff. So when that comes back in March, that's going to be absolutely fantastic. We do have some videos in the works that we're going to be uploading on Mark's channel here soon. So, you know, pay attention to that.
Yeah, Craig's a good. Actually, I was going to talk about somebody else, but Keith actually got a.
But let me mention real quick, it has been 3 minutes and 45 seconds, and I still have no response from Astronomy Livestream. Thank you. Thank you. And good night.
Well, he doesn't respond. I don't get why.
He was here.
I know. I saw him. I
thought, okay, maybe if he's not, you know, typing, maybe he's listening.
Yeah, and if he was listening, but you know.
Yeah, but I don't even think he's listening.
Yeah. It's too bad you can't like send like an electrical charge back through their computer.
It's crazy because it's like I want to promote him because it's so good what he does, and I'd love to have the conversation or even in chat where people can just click his name and go over and check it out, you know, stuff that he's doing and like kind of just have a back and forth with him a little bit. I tried. I can't do it. You know.
Yeah, try.
I'm gonna have to shoot him an email and say, "Yo, dude, you know, hey." This is what we've been trying to do. I don't think he's even seen it, you know?
Well, in April, when he responds to that email, he'll be able to tell you what's going on, right?
Did you say in April?
Yes.
It's such a good channel, though, guys. Even though he won't respond to me with, you know, hearing us or chatting. But that is the goal for this chat for the rest of the night, is try to get Astronomy Livestream's attention when he comes in. So when he comes in, this is the one time, because my biggest pet peeve is typing in all caps. But guess what? Tonight I'm letting loose. I'm letting you do it. If you see Astronomy Livestream pop in here, I'm allowing all caps just to get his attention. To see if it works. Only
after he makes a comment. Don't do it all the time.
Yeah. Only when you see him pop in the chat, because he'll pop in with these random facts, which are awesome, and he'll start, you know, telling you about it, or, you know, and then you go to answer what he put, and nothing. You know, you try to engage that conversation, and you know, do I have him on Skype? Let me check. Mark, talk about the moon, and I'm going to see if I have him on Skype. I'm going to see if I can get him. This is the mission for tonight, is to get his attention.
Well, he's not very ambitious, guys, I will tell you. But no, I think that you know, people choose to watch what they want. You know, I have to say, you know, in listening to our stream the other night and re-listening to it, I discovered that my audio was really terrible on my first debut show with Amanda Curran. She's my co-host, and she sounds great, and I sounded tinny. So today you're hearing me on a new headset, so hopefully this sounds more like I'm in the room with you, okay, rather than I'm across the street again.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
That's good, and so I think that's it's very important to get sound right. Um, because without it, obviously, it's hard for people to hear.
This is the one thing that some people say like expensive isn't always better. Believe me, when it comes to microphones, there's two things you want to look out for: expense and weight. And let me explain why. The weight of it is giving you a bigger magnet. It's how, pretty much how to do with how a microphone works. But if it's heavy and if it's a little more on the pricey side, like you're not going to get a very good microphone for, say, $25. I mean, you'll get one and it'll work. I mean, it might not sound the best. But if you're looking for a professional studio mic, even mine doesn't sound all that great. I think I paid $80 for this one back in the day, maybe 90. But I mean, it's a pretty heavy microphone. It's one of those old style, the ones that hang down, not exactly the the directional microphone. And so you look to spend at least $60 to $80 for a good microphone. And believe it or not, the more expensive you go, the better they get. I mean, it's just the way it is, and that's why people love Rode mics so much. Or what's the other one that a lot of people get? Yeti mics. Yeah.
I saw Yeti today. I was looking at buying it, thinking about buying it, but quite frankly, it's $129. You figure, oh, that's nice. It is, but it's a fixed mic. You see, for what I do, knowing that I do this stuff in the observatory, I can't have a fixed mic. I had one in there, and it sounds alternately like I'm across the street and then right on top of it across the street. I can't do that. You got to have consistent sound. And I'm touching the mic now, so that's why it sounds like it just did. But the best thing is I got a headset, and the headset has a mic on it. It's kids use it for gaming computers, and it's a gaming headset, they call it. Well, This is a high-end one, and so far, Bill New York Skywatcher and now you, Keith, say this sounds really good.
Oh, there he is. There he is. Just
quick
appeared in chat.
All caps, all caps, all caps.
It's not going to happen. We're not.
I see UFOs every time I go to Walmart. That's so funny.
Okay. So now we want to engage them. What kind of UFOs? Okay.
There you go.
Let's see here. Wait. Oh, man, I got too many mouses. Gotta have a little bit of fun, right?
You're typing on the computer that has the microphone near it, aren't you?
Which one? There's three running right now.
The microphone that you're running, actually, that you're talking in, because I'm hearing boom, 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 boom.
Like this? You can hear that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow. That's because, you know what, I had to mount it to the actual desk because the other one was too soft of a surface.
That's called sound conduction through a solid surface.
Well, bad.
It's all right.
All right, are we going to get a hold of him? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I seen him pop in, so I had to.
No, you had to. I get it.
Okay.
No, but
okay, go ahead.
no, the mic, the headset I got actually has a frequency response that's from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Look, hi the other day. Look, he said it again. He's got something going on there.
So he sees another person.
Yeah, that's weird. Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, would Astronomy Livestream please acknowledge that he can hear us in the chat?
Astronomy Livestream, please come to the courtesy desk now, please. Astronomy Livestream, you have a missing child. That was good, actually. I thought it was another person.
Wait. Oh, my lord, he acknowledged! He acknowledged D. Holy, okay. We did it.
Just type hi. Just type hi.
I mean, trying to talk to this guy for 3
days.
There you go. D, since he's talking to you, ask him if he's listening to the stream. If you can. I know you're 36 seconds behind, so I'm going to sit here and wait for this. This is just too funny.
Actually, I think that having a abbreviation of ALS is not really a good thing.
Yeah, I know.
I have to get him to change that.
Starzar's like, just sub to it. Yeah. It's so funny. We've been having fun with this for the last 3 days. Trying to get a hold of him. Oh, anyway, what's up to everybody in the chat hanging out with us? Question: is there earthquakes or moonquakes on the moon? Mark, go for it.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, even the seismometers left by the Apollo astronauts could register impacts hitting the moon. And these moonquakes will occur, for instance, I'll give you an example of why we know they occur. When the moon was struck by a large impactor or even a small impactor, okay, it's hitting a solid surface.
Right.
Now, what is a shock wave? A shock wave is a sound wave traveling through solid rock or through the air. Well, the moon has no air. So therefore, all it has is that surface regolith, and that vibrational impact passes through that. So that's, you get a moonquake. That's what a moonquake is.
Mm.
All right. So on the Earth, an earthquake is the same thing. We have a shock wave that's transmitted by the motion of rock. Now you feel the motion because you have the actual ground moving. But then in certain cases, you hear sound. Well, that sound is being generated by the moving of the rock. Okay. In the deep ocean, if you have a fault that drops down, okay, then you can get a tsunami, okay, that kind of thing. Well, on the moon, when the moon's hit by a meteor, the vibrations get transmitted into the lunar crust, and they can actually make the moon ring like the Earth can ring. And we did some experiments actually with the Apollo astronauts. They actually did some experiments where they actually sent sound waves down into the moon. And based on this sounding, they could actually determine whether the core was molten or solid. All right. And in other words, whether there was still any activity left on the moon. And now we know that there's none. Okay. It's very little. The only thing that happens is over the billions of years of impacts, every time an impactor happens, just imagine a fresh crater has a very sharp rim. As an impact occurs, like say 40 miles away or 50 miles away or 100 miles away, vibration goes to that very sharp rim of this crater, this other crater we're talking about, and maybe a little bit of the dirt falls down into the center of the crater from the edge of the crater. Multiply that by billions of impacts, and what you get is rounded, soft craters that don't have a whole lot of definition as they may have back in the beginning. Right. And that's what happens on the moon. Recent craters that have happened on the moon, like within the last 200 million years or 500 million years, you can actually see they look very sharp, and their structure is very sharp and clear. And we can tell that. But their impacts will cause some other craters nearby to start to weather a little bit more, and stuff tumbles down. That's part of the reason that we see stuff in the center of these craters is because of stuff that rolled down in after impact of something else nearby. Now, yes, in the initial impact, stuff will pile into the center of larger craters, like the one in the upper left here. Okay,
which I believe Pythagoras, maybe.
Might be Pythagoras. You gotta figure out which way we're angled here. I can't see. It's actually floating out to the left, I believe. But
actually, let me take a time out right now because Astronomy Live is actually listening now. So that's why I wanted to do this real quick. Dave, I've been trying to talk to you in chat for the last 3 days. And let me explain. The conversations between myself and Mark and Bill, we were wanting to try to get you on board with the Astro Imaging Live stuff, and we wanted to invite you to join that community as well. So that's the reason for me. That's the reason for me trying to get a hold of you. And on like last stream, I was typing like in all caps, trying to get your attention, like answering your questions and stuff. And it was just so funny because it was like we were totally ignored, and we had everybody in the chat trying to get a hold of you, just like we did tonight. But that was the main thing. And I believe I have your Skype, or I'm not sure if I have your Skype, but I believe I do have your email. So that's the main thing. I wanted to talk to you about that. And I'll probably pull Mark in on that conversation as well.
Are you sure he's listening?
He said his audio was on. So
okay.
I'm going with it. So that was the main reason. And if you wanted to join us tonight, you probably could if you have a Skype. Go ahead, Mark.
So what we were talking about was, when it's hit and when the moon is hit, the craters will weather a little bit, and that's the only kind of weathering that happens on the moon, other than radiation weathering. Now, what is that? Well, when the radiation strikes the rocks, it can alter the chemistry of the rocks, because ultraviolet radiation is not subdued at all by an atmosphere like it is on the Earth. So when the rocks are struck, they become parched with this ultraviolet radiation, and they can change their color. They can change things, their chemical composition, slightly based on the fact that this high power radiation has been striking them for billions of years from our sun. And for proof of what that can do to a surface, let's look at the asteroid that came through here, the extraterrestrial asteroid that came through our solar system recently, called Oumuamua. Now, Oumuamua in Hawaiian means messenger, basically, and this asteroid was determined to be just about 10 times longer than it was wide. And we don't have any asteroids here, and that length was about a quarter mile. We don't have any asteroids here in our solar system that have that type of shape and profile. This is incredible. And so the other thing that we noticed is that it was reddish. Now, there were these things that said, well, it's reddish because it's artificial, blah, blah, blah. No, actually, it's reddish because the radiation that it had accrued on its surface over the last several hundred million years, as it was traveling between stars in open space, that radiation actually caused that color change on the surface. So like that, we see that on the moon, but not red, but we see that the moon has been literally parched by this ultraviolet radiation from our sun. But our sun doesn't have the same level of ultraviolet radiation that some stars do out there. Some stars out there have UV radiation that would actually burn you to a cinder before you could even say, look at the star. You'd be gone already. So this Oumuamua was actually really a phenomenal interloper in our solar system, and it really taught us a lot. And here's the thing. It's not that we didn't know that there were probably asteroids. We knew that there's dust around other stars. I mean, the star Vega, 25 light years away in the constellation of Lyra, Alpha Lyra, Vega. That star is an A0 star. It's a stellar, spectral class A. Okay, and the spectral classes go from 0 to 9 within a class. So it's A0. So it's one of the first. It's an early A star, we call it. And that star actually, at 25 light years, we could already detect that it has what's called a circumstellar disk. That is a disk around it of debris and other rock. Asteroids? Yeah, maybe so, and most likely so. So, asteroids do exist elsewhere, but this was the first interstellar asteroid that we managed to actually see come through and get to study for a period of time. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, once a year, interstellar asteroids come winging through our solar system. Mm-hmm. But this one was the first one that ever had that 10-to-1 length difference in ratio. It was so different that it literally was a shock to the astronomical community to see this, because no one had ever expected that. No one would ever have expected it. So it's pretty cool.
Is there any current neutron stars that are visible to us? Or maybe I'm saying that wrong. Not neutron.
No. Actually, neutron star is like the remnant of a supernova. So if we look at supernova remnants, near the center of the supernova remnant, if what's left didn't collapse into a black hole, it's probably it's going to be a neutron star.
I know. I'm thinking of the one that shoots the beams of light.
Oh, that's a pulsar.
And that's what I was looking for.
That's also a left, and that's okay. That's all right, because a pulsar is just another kind of neutron star. Mm-hmm. And a pulsar is we have one right now. It's let's see. It's just about, if it was clear right now, I could look on my astronomical software and tell you exactly where it is, because it's another one I want to image for our SkyTour live stream. We have the Crab pulsar, right? And I believe that one flashes, and you guys can correct me, I think it's 17 times per second. Mm-hmm. Okay. just imagine something that's about, I don't know, 6 miles across and spinning 7 times per second.
Right.
Okay, just imagine something spinning that fast. It would fly apart if it was made of normal matter, but it's not made of normal matter. Okay, it's actually got such a powerful gravitational force holding it together because it's so dense that it actually stays together. And you know what? That pulsar is not the record-breaking pulsar either. That's a mild pulsar.
Right.
Now, again, what's a pulsar? I mean, when a supernova occurs, basically what happens is it's caused by what's called core collapse in a star. When the core of a star collapses, the inner core of that star slams down on what at that point is an iron core. Iron can't be, fused into anything further once it reaches the isotope iron 56. And when that slams down, that iron core is resilient. It doesn't go anywhere. So everything on the outside of that core, once it hits that from gravitational forces, bounces off and explodes outward, and the entire outer star and the rest of the star just goes out into the universe in a massive explosion. Now, we talk about stars. In fact, we're going to talk about it this Sunday on the Sky Tour Radio. We're going to talk about the periodic table of the elements a little bit, and we're going to talk about how stars make our periodic table.
And once again, I should throw this out there that that is on KGRA Radio, and you can listen to it for free online on your phone. They have an app.
Archives. If you miss a show, you can listen to the archives.
Absolutely, and the archives. And that is by far KGRA is the #1 paranormal radio network out there.
Yep. Paranormal and UFOs, and
not only do they have Marc, they have
Richard Dolan,
Jimmy Church. Just all kinds of people that have showed. Linda Moulton Howe, I think, is on there sometimes.
Commander Cobra with Task Force Griffin.
So if you like paranormal, if you like UFOs, if you like government, even conspiracies, that is the radio channel to go to. And once again, I don't buy into a lot of the conspiracy stuff, but I do find it very entertaining, and it does give me, an insight into what is out there, like what information is out there that people are having. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly.
It's a good radio station, and once again, Race Hobbs, one of the nicest guys you ever meet. Started the thing from the ground up, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But Marc, let's talk about the moon.
All right,
and let's talk about going there. Where do we start?
We didn't go to the moon. You know, we didn't go to the moon.
Where do we start? Okay, we did all this stuff back in the '60s. Yay, yada yada yada. Okay. Now, this would be. I'm going to consider this from this point forward our second trip to the moon. Even though I'm doing it in phases. Apollo was one phase. This will be trip number 2 or second phase, with a whole different set of objectives.
Yeah.
To do. Now, obviously, I believe you are a believer that I am. Is that we should be going and heading to the moon first before we even attempt anything with Mars.
Well, in some ways, it's easier in some ways to actually go to Mars because when we're going to the moon doesn't have an atmosphere, so we have to land on the moon utilizing absolute reverse thrust type approaches. We can't just like plop down with a buoyancy bag like on Mars with an atmosphere to help slow us down and do some aero braking in the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Okay, so landing on the moon is not going to be as easy. I mean, none of it's easy. Let me make this clear. Okay, going to Mars will be the biggest thing we ever do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and going to the moon.
Here's my effect on it. Yes, we want to go to Mars. Obviously, that is a big thing. That's been a thing, ever since the rocket maker. He was more wanting to go to Mars than
Robert Goddard.
Yeah,
or Werner von Braun.
Yeah, von Braun. And but I think, don't you think it'd be smarter to have a staging area? Yes, okay, the moon, we got different gravity and okay, but it would still be a closer approach to teaching people how to survive on a planet per se. I mean, we know the moon's not a planet, but still, on another body that they don't have the comforts of home, be it oxygen, being protection from radiation. You're going to have some of that with Mars, but don't you think that the moon is like a perfect proving ground?
It is. I mean? It is, and let me explain. Let me explain something about the moon. First of all, the L-Cross mission, LCROSS, the L-Cross mission proved.
Is that the one that everybody says was a nuke that they slammed into the moon?
Yeah, it's far less glamorous.
Yeah.
Okay. It was actually just a spent rocket body that they crashed into the moon. They couldn't fire a nuke into the moon for a very important reason. It would vaporize and disassociate any water molecules, which is what they were looking for.
Right.
Okay, and they found them in the in KBS crater on the South Pole. And the point of that experiment was to show that we could go to the moon and have precious water if we needed it. Mm. And that's just what we did. You know,
yeah.
And so that's something that's very important, because when we want to go to the moon, we're going to need water, we're going to need oxygen, we're going to need materials with which to build more structures, right? Mm-hmm. Robert Bigelow has an inflatable habitat that they are currently using on the space station. There's actually one module that's an inflated module that is a Bigelow Aerospace habitat module. And putting that in space and on the space station is one achievement. Making it a bermed or a nearly buried structure on the moon will be another innovation. Right. Because, first of all, when you're at the moon, just like on the space station, you're not protected from ultraviolet radiation. And if you go near the South Pole, you're going to be near the sunset. You might actually be in the shadow, perhaps. And if you're in the shadow, other problems present themselves. Okay, right. You have vast temperature differences. You have vast differences in the way materials respond when they're ultra cold versus heated, and it'll affect everything. Now, here's something about the lunar surface that you may not know. Okay, you do, Keith, but maybe some of your folks don't. Mm-hmm. The lunar surface, actually, that regolith, that soil, is like glass. It's sharp. And when I think it was Harrison Schmitt, when he was walking on the moon, was it Harrison Schmitt? Well, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is
the rip.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I believe it was him.
Okay, he was walking on the moon, and he did two of three EVAs, extravehicular activities, and he couldn't do his third because the ankle joint where his boot and ankle connect was torn through to the insulation. But he didn't do anything to it. He didn't make it tear. The lunar soil was so sharp, and because of the way he walked, he was sloughing his feet along. That stuff hitting his ankle the whole time caused the outer layer of his fabric in his suit to just wear right down to the insulation. That man was close to dying. If that suit tore through, or he'd lose a leg for sure if he ever got back alive. So that's something that I find interesting about the lunar surface. Now, for NASA's Unexplained Files, they asked me to reproduce. I forget which episode story this was, but I had to reproduce lunar soil. So I studied the characteristics of lunar soil, the static charge properties, the powder properties, the sharp glassy properties, and I didn't want to get silicosis, okay, and end up having effectively emphysema, okay, at my age from exposure to these materials. So I left the glassy nature of the soil out, but I did create a formula to actually reproduce lunar soil, and it very successfully too. I might add, it actually works beautiful. I have a whole bunch of it in my studio right now, not on the floor but in a bin, and I made a bunch of it, and you can actually use it to simulate how material flies in space. It's very lightweight, but it's also very very clumpy. It'll clump like it should.
Right.
And
what would you compare it to? Like if you had to compare it to something that everybody knows.
Trying to, yeah, just imagine if you could clump talcum powder. Okay. However, if you squeeze talcum powder in your hand and your hands were slightly wet when you opened them, it would look like it would feel that way, except you'd have a lot of blood running because you would have also cut your hand on real soil.
Right.
Okay, because that soil is, like I said, it's like little pieces of glass. So, but the thing is, I also unfortunately mimic the aerosol properties of this stuff, where I could actually, once the stuff got airborne, good luck. You had to wear a mask because the stuff would be gone and be in the air for a long, long time. So I actually have a dust collection system that I run to prevent that from happening, and I got it for that purpose. And so I had to run the dust collector for that episode because it was not, we had to clear the air after doing takes with this thing.
Right.
And I used this on the show Aliens and the Moon, which was a production by a Los Angeles producer that did the alien autopsy film. And when I did I did the soil for that specifically to show how some of the illusions happen, because this stuff would reproduce, cratering very, very well, and would actually mimic the craters very well, even under Earth gravity.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have they didn't have the money, I should say, to actually mimic how a crater would be made in 1/6 G. But I had a rig that I could have made to actually make a 1/6 G crater. That is to say, 1/6 the acceleration due to gravity. So in the 1/6 moon gravity, I could have actually generated a crater that would look more or less exactly like a crater should look. But they didn't have the money for me to build that rig. I was going to. So it's basically interesting how this all works. And that regolith, that stuff on the moon, is really being as sharp as it is. That's the one thing I couldn't reproduce, as I said. So I ended up producing quite a bit of this stuff, and all over the shop I have little samples of material that I need. I mean, it took me about 6 months to generate all of the components properly for this lunar soil. But I'm a nut, and so I crazy as I am, I'll do these kinds of things.
The reason why I asked you about the soil and whatnot is I'm taking it you think that an underground base on the moon would be a better idea than, say, a dome that a lot of people talk about.
Well, yeah, and the reason that's important is because of what I said before. Remember we talked about what the ultraviolet radiation does?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, besides the bleaching effect and the other thing, it will disassociate certain molecules, and it could actually negatively affect the habitat structure. So that's why Bigelow's inflatatat, up on the space station, that's why that inflatatat's up there, to see what the ultraviolet rays will do to it on the outside. Mm-hmm. But if they can get around that, then that's great. But most likely it's going to be degraded in some way. So to stop that, what you do is you bury it underground. And if you bury it underground, then you have protection from ultraviolet radiation, because the ground will form a natural barrier.
So you think the lava tube base is a good start?
Yeah, I mean, they've identified several locations on the moon that would be a good base to start from. And a lava tube basically is a tube, but it's an area that's under the surface of the moon that used to be filled with lava. Mm-hmm. And once that lava drains out, because of the nature of lava, it was molten rock, right? Well, along the walls, as that's flowing, some of that lava is solidifying and hardening along the walls. And by the time that the tube drains out, you've got a hard shell of a tube left in the middle, okay? It's sort of like reverse candle making, okay? And so if you actually have a hard tube like that, you can actually use that as a ready-made base. But you aren't going to be airtight, so you have to put something in there that is, and that's where the habitat structure comes in. And I don't think domes are the answer, because domes are going to be, able to be deteriorating, they will deteriorate over time.
Well, what do you think about the idea of depleted rocket that they were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you got to get it to land safely. Okay,
True.
what's a depleted rocket? Well, if you look at let's compare it to something everybody knows. The shuttle has an external fuel tank, right?
Mhm.
That big orange external fuel tank. Okay. Well, by the nature of what the fuel tanks are, they're very lightweight. Okay, but they're also not meant to survive the reentry into the atmosphere. They will burn up in our atmosphere. Now, you want to take it to the moon. Well, L-Cross, to see that there was water on the moon, crashed something very much like an external fuel tank of the shuttle. All right, and the thing is, if you try to land something like that in a soft, intact landing, it requires a lot of energy. So getting it to land is going to be a trick. You can't just use parachutes. It doesn't work on the moon.
Yep.
It'd work on Mars. You could actually do it with Mars with some inflatable, balloons to actually do a landing much like the rovers. That was very successful, although not controlled. Once they bounced, they didn't know where they were going to stop. But if you use this and you try to get one of these things onto the moon, yes, that'd be a good thing if you can bury it. But how do you bury it? Well, to bury it, you have to have machinery on the moon,
Right.
like a space bulldozer.
It would take a minimum of 4 trips to the moon with different stuff in order to make it viable. Now, I do think there's promise in SpaceX's landing their rockets. I think some of that technology will be put towards a landing moon.
That's right.
That's
right.
And then once you have it there, you're going to have the machines to either drag it, or you got to have a spot pre-built, so they're going to have to go up over the tunneler of some sort, just to make sure it's going to fit, and you have to send people up to measure,
Yeah.
to make sure, and you're going to try to get it as close as you can get it to where you want it, so you don't have to make that trip far. So it's a minimum 4 trips, more likely 8 to 10 trips to the moon and back, just to if everything goes right.
Well, remember this, okay? The SpaceX thrusters. When you watch the first stage come back and land on the Earth, that's landing on an Earth that has 6 times the gravity.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's going to need to have, and it also fights air currents. All right, it's stabilized that way. So landing something like that on the moon is not going to be as problematic as it is on the Earth. What is problematic on the moon is landing it in an area where it won't then just fall over.
Right.
Now, if it does fall over, okay, and say it's still full of fuel, what'll happen to it if it breaks open?
Fuel.
Exactly. There's no explosion. Okay, there's no oxygen, because that's why these things blow up. You got hot parts and all that, but only with the addition of oxygen will you get an explosion.
Right.
So you won't see that. You won't get an explosion. So you have a cracked stage up there if it falls over. But that said, we would be able to take something like that if we could get it to land. Now, you remember they've got the heavy lift rocket they're going to be testing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the one they want to take the capsules to Mars, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they get that heavy lift operating, then they could use that heavy lift to go to the moon. And one of the spent side rockets on the side they could use that to land on the moon if they could do that effectively. If they land on the moon, then they could get it to bring it down slowly. They have to do that with some type of harness and gear and machinery. So that would be one of the last steps.
That's what you can use one of Bigelow's bubbles for.
Well, yes.
Place it to the side and just tip it over and let it fall.
Yeah, but these aren't rigid. They have flexure, which means that they will bend and break, So you have to be careful. You don't want that flexure.
So you send it up there, you land it, upright. And that's when the manned mission comes in. They go in, they do some space welding on the inside to support it a little bit. And then you inflate this nice big Bigelow balloon, and you just push her on over. How about that?
I mean, we can shorten Bigelow balloon to Bigaloon.
Bigaloon. There we go.
Yeah,
Copyright.
get a Bigaloon.
Trademarked it.
Yep.
I mean, there's ways to do it. I mean, because you remember the first plans for Mars was to actually have everything automated launch first. where this thing would go and land on Mars and actually have equipment inside of it that would actually make fuel.
Yep, that's right.
On Mars, and then you would launch and then you would launch the manned mission to go there, and then once they were done, then they would have the fuel to actually relaunch back off of Mars and come back home. Which was a pretty ingenious idea for the time, but for some reason that got totally pushed to the side. Not for all reasons that I know, anyway, but I know that it was being heavily considered and almost actually got approved to do. But yeah. So we're thinking lava tubes and spent rockets.
Well, yeah, spent rockets less than just plain lava tubes, because lava tubes give you the same protection as spent rockets, but they're already there. Mm-hmm. See, the benefit is use something that's already there.
Right.
Use the water in the shadow of the crater, so you don't have to bring any water.
Okay. Well, how about this? What if they got a rocket and they got it there and they landed it? Okay.
Yes.
And they land it, say, somewhat close to a crater edge. Okay. Now, which will probably be a lot of weight, but being it's 1/6 of gravity up there, to launch it, you would need a heavy lift rocket. But say some kind of bulldozer of some sort that can actually take that rocket and then cover it in moon dust, or
Precisely. That's called a berm. That's what I mentioned before. It's a bermed. It's a bermed. BERM. It's a bermed structure, right? And that will provide a modicum of protection against the ultraviolet rays. It depends how deep. Mm-hmm. And then also insulation.
Right.
It won't allow too much heat to wick away from the inside, because the inside has to be warm. And it will also, and of course it's going to be warm anyway if they use the sun to the full extent. Mm-hmm. And so I think that would be something that would not too far off. That's not in the distant future. That's
You're talking about one load itself just being solar panels. If they're going to go the solar route, unless they find something, nuclear that they can use up there that they can get there.
Well, frankly, we could actually just, put a nuclear reactor inert on the rocket and have an automated system to, insert the fuel rods and start it up.
Right.
Before astronauts ever arrive, so that could provide power. We could have that. A little nuclear reactor would be fine. And then once they're there, they could actually have systems to actually make solar panels from the regolith and everything that's there, and we can forego gold couplings that are would be required, because those would be heavy. So yes, that's true. I think that would work. And just to answer, there's a question. It says Laura Chris. I think it's or Iora. I can't tell if it's an L or an I. Is that an L or an I? Iora. That's got to be an I. It is?
Yeah, because I'm looking at the L on 12 feet tall is below her, and it's the same. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, the question that's asked there is no. Yeah, you're right. The question is, so SpaceX is going and not NASA? The answer is most likely yes, and I'll tell you why. When you commercialize space like this, now you have people competing for all of the benefits that space travel can provide. And I'll tell you this: if we have that ability for the space race to go commercial, then you're going to see an amazing change over that 10-year interval. One of those will be that many civilians will get into the space race. Blue Origin is currently in the space race. Okay, Elon Musk is in the space race. Bigelow's in the space race. These are all individuals now. Okay, individual companies. Okay, never before. NASA would always be the figurehead, but now we have Blue Origin. Now I don't know if you saw Blue Origin's launch. They launched a test dummy up to the edge of space, and they discovered that it actually worked very well. And you were there with the camera. The camera was there the whole time. It was wonderful. It was just a great video. I watched the whole thing because I don't have much of a life apparently. So that stuff just attracts me. That draws me like you can't believe. So I've been interested
Yeah,
for a
and
long,
most
long
of those
time.
you just listed are U.S. based companies. Now,
Yes.
you're not even taking into account India is starting in, Japan, China. They're all in it as well. Right now, I think you can pretty much count, 10 to 12 entities that are looking to go to the moon and establish a presence there permanently.
Yeah, I mean, JAXA, the Japanese, the Japan Space Agency, JAXA's got all kinds of missions. Okay, they sent a probe to Venus to look at the Venusian clouds and study them in ways that had never been seen before, and they were extremely, what's the word? Successful.
Yeah, yeah. The JAXA's YouTube channel too is just great.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's
what's
on
that?
par with the LRO.
Yeah, that's right. And we have the European Space Agency, which is the European version of NASA. Okay, but you see, we're all going to orbit together. So the ESA is in this. NASA's in this. Individual companies are in this, and NASA and the ESA are looking to the individual companies for one reason: innovation.
Money.
Innovation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, money's automatic. That's of course. Yeah.
Yep.
If
you compare the budget of the 1960s and transfer it to today's dollars, it is so much less money than they were getting back in the 60s. It's insanity.
Yeah.
You're talking. Yeah. What was the one compare? It was like $30 billion less, something like that.
I don't know, but I don't know that actually. But I can tell you though, my feeling when we talk about the space race and where we're going to go. And by the way, you're listening to Keith here on P&K Space Imaging. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. This was Keith over here on Keith Ickes on.
You know what?
P&K.
I should actually do make sure. Once again, we are simulcasting on KGRA's YouTube.
Yeah, that's right.
For tonight.
Nice.
Joining me tonight is Marc D'Antonio. You can catch him
there.
everywhere, pretty much.
I'm at the drugstore. I'm at the gas station. I'm all over the place.
Yeah. NASA's Unexplained Files. What on Earth? MUFON. Sky Tour radio show on KGRA. Sky Tour live stream here on YouTube. We're sitting here just shooting a breeze tonight. Welcome to.
We actually have been talking about aliens because,
because
actually, if you think about it, when we talk about unidentified flying objects, I'll go there.
Mm-hmm.
If you consider unidentified flying objects, what are they? Well, they're alternately called alien spacecraft. They're also called, that airliner who's, airline, I don't know who that is yet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a term to explain something we don't recognize aerially up in the sky. All right. Well,
aerially.
I
see what you did there.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I wasn't actually trying to say anything. That you saw what you did there. I was just saying the word aerially in a way that would, be slow and, not just slurred. I wanted to make it clear. So that said, our Voyager spacecraft just left the heliopause. What is that? The heliopause is the border between our sun's influence and interstellar space. That means it's truly an unidentified flying object to any civilization that ever encounters it.
Yep.
And it has that gold record on it that has it's actually got the sounds of Earth on it. So I think that's pretty impressive. We finally left the heliopause, past the heliopause, and you can hear it if you go online and listen for the sounds from Voyager spacecraft. You can hear interstellar space for the first time in human history.
Well, didn't it record planets too as it went by?
Yes, it did. And as a matter of fact, I actually built a radio telescope. For
some reason, YouTube's being goofy tonight. Because everything's good on my end. There's no dropped frames, no...
Oh, it's back now.
Yeah, it just keeps... on the code. That's what I'm saying. On OBS, it's showing no drop frames or anything, so...
Interesting. See, that happened to me in the observatory for the SkyTour live stream. I had I had it dropping. I had perfect green.
Well, you know what? If worse comes to worse, if it keeps on doing it, what I'll do is I'll stop this stream and restart, another one.
If you do it within a certain amount of time, then it picks the same file and stays the same. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
like a 10-second window or something to do it. So.
Yeah. So where was I here? You don't even remember, do you?
Hell no! I was looking at trying to figure out why the stream went off.
Oh, that's just minor. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, right. No, but see, like when we talk about UFOs and going out of our solar system, I did on my show last week on Skytour Radio. I had this analogy, and and some of you here heard it already because I mentioned a little bit of it. If you shrink the sun from its current diameter of 865,000 miles, that's 100 Earths across, okay? If you shrink that down to half an inch in size, then the solar system is, Earth's 8 feet away from the sun at that point, Mars 2 feet, Venus, about 4. If you look out at Pluto, all right, Pluto is 211 feet away at that scale. So if you were traveling 60 miles an hour in a car, you'd get to Pluto in 2.4 seconds, okay, at that distance. Now, if you kept going in that car because you were going to go to Alpha Centauri, the nearest star at that scale, okay, Alpha Centauri is 274 miles away. You're going to be driving for another 4.5, 5 hours to get to it. So now you see what we're up against. I mean, it took us 15 years to go that 211 scale feet to Pluto with the New Horizons spacecraft. Yeah. 15 years.
When you start talking about, distances in space, it just gets mind-boggling.
Right, and in fact, that's the first. Well, it's actually the first chapter in my book, The Populated Universe, is the trouble with the numbers, or the problem with the numbers, because I talk about the fact that numbers quickly go out of usable terms when you're talking about the astronomy. In fact, you go to make a model. I used to actually do with kids. I used to take them out into a football field, and I'd actually make a model of the universe. We'd have a ball that represented the sun, and I would send the kids at various distances to various yard lines, and I made the model so it fit inside a football field. And there's a lot of kids clustered around you where the sun is. Yeah. And then when you get to Mars and you go to Jupiter, all right, well, you're way out in the boonies when you're to Pluto. The guy at the end there, you can't even hear him when he's talking to you, at all. And so, you're like, how you doing out there at Pluto? And it's like, what? How are you at Pluto? And then you say, excuse me? Okay, yeah, hey, Bobby, go run down to Frank down there and let him know we want to know how he's doing. And he'd run the length of the football field, and he gets there. Meanwhile, we're waiting. Okay, so it was very good at pointing out just how far away things are. All right, everybody that it means anything is clustered over by the sun. We're Mercury, Venus, and Earth. And then Mars is a little further out, but then Jupiter, is way far. Jupiter at that scale we were doing was like 40 feet away from the sun. And then, by the time you get out to Pluto, you're at 300 feet. It's crazy. So, because it was scaled to fit inside the football field. So that was a great way to point that out. When we had a scale model like that, even doing that on a football field, you saw that when you try to show Pluto, you've got people too far away to even participate in a quote unquote class. Okay, so that's something. So the solar system, you'd have to either do just a model of the solar system, much smaller, or if you try and do a model of the local stars, you can't also show the solar system, because the solar system will be represented by a little tiny ball about 1/16 of an inch in diameter. The whole solar system out to Pluto. And then
what, the whole term, just light speed, or the speed of light, it's enough to blow your mind there.
It is.
You're talking about something to take 24 years at the speed that you flick on a switch and see a light bulb. Yeah, even at that speed, it's going to take 24 years to get to wherever you're going. That's just insanity.
Well, at the speed of light, it'll take you 4.3 years to get to the nearest star.
Right.
Okay, that's Alpha Centauri. Okay, 4.3 years at the fastest known speed in the universe, and I've got an answer to that, by the way. I have an answer for that, an end run. And that speed of 186,282 miles per second, the speed of light, is a speed.
Believe it or not, I think it's OBS. Now it reconnected again. Go figure. So it is OBS acting up right now. It's not.
All right.
It's not YouTube. Cause I just saw it. Because you know what? I have my laptop blocking a little corner, and I didn't see the pop up come inside.
Okay.
So yeah, it's OBS being a little goofy. So guys, if it drops out, don't worry. It comes back. It just, for some reason, OBS is being a little crappy. Sometimes you might have to F5 it or refresh, however you want to do it.
There you go.
But yeah. So just so you know.
Cool. So I'll just finish this part of it, and then I'll let you take over and talk about the crappy OBS. Well, just saw a bird go by.
Bird.
Yeah, a bird just went by. The speed of light, as I said, 186,282 miles per second. And if you could set up mirrors all the way around the Earth to reflect the beam of light around the Earth, then you turn on your laser, and you might think it might take like a second or so for the light to come back around the whole Earth, going all the way around, across the Pacific Ocean, across the Asian continent, down across the Atlantic Ocean, then part of the United States, and then back to wherever you are. Okay? But it would actually go 7.5 times around the Earth in 1 second. That is fast. Okay? Now, at that speed even, all right, you are going to still take 4.3 years to get to the nearest star to us. That's Proxima Centauri in the Alpha Centauri star system. The Alpha Centauri is actually a triple star system. There's 2 stars like the sun, and then far out is another star orbiting those 2. And that star on the outside is a red dwarf, it's called. Really cool, and I'm really interested in finding out if we're ever going to be able to see the atmosphere of the planet that surrounds Proxima, because there is one.
Dude, with the way technology is going these days, I can almost guarantee it. I mean, it's progressing so fast. It's amazing what technology has done just in the last 100 years alone, let alone where it's going.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And I can tell you this: when the Webb telescope, the Webb Space Telescope gets up this year, it's pretty likely that we will be able to see atmospheres of these planets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be a nail biter with that Webb telescope.
Yeah, they want the James Webb to go up there right.
Only get one shot.
Gets up there. Yeah.
I mean, so many. We talked about this before, but man, so many things have got to go right with that. I mean, you're talking about getting the thing up, getting it in orbit, then shooting it out to where are they parking it? Out by Jupiter somewhere, or out by the what do you call that? Belt?
Yeah, it'll be like, I think in a Lagrange point. I'm not sure. See, here's the thing. In our solar system, and I'll go back to Proxima Centauri in a minute. And dang, Joss, you're right. Proxima is not visible to the naked eye because it's a red dwarf. In fact, red dwarf stars are the most plentiful star in the entire galaxy, and probably all the galaxies, right? And they also, by their statistical nature, have the most planets around them of any star. So that said, red dwarfs, they are the most populous star in the entire galaxy, yet you can't see a single one with your eye when you go out under the darkest of skies because they're all too faint to see. That's what's cool about these stars. They sit there and quietly burn for trillions of years. Our sun will go billions. They go trillions of years, 1,000 times longer beyond and more. So back to Proxima Centauri, if we wanted to get to Proxima Centauri to check this out, first we have to look at the planet and be able to see the atmosphere. Now, how do we do that? Well, we do that with, let me just give you a thumbs up here, Keith. We do that. We do that by actually taking the James Webb Telescope and watching a transit. That is, watching the planet cross between the star and us. Now, when it does, then like the Kepler Space Telescope, we'll see the light curve change just a little bit. Now, you got to imagine, okay, to give you an idea of how far away the stars are just in diameter, take an ordinary 25-cent piece, a quarter, okay? to see that quarter at the same diameter that Alpha Centauri is, the main star in Alpha Centauri, A, we'll call it component A, to see that same diameter as A in your camera, you have to move it 750 miles away to see the circular shape. Okay, that's how far away you'd have to go to make it match the circular shape of and size of Alpha Centauri in the sky. That gives you an idea now of the size. Now, imagine a planet 50 times smaller than that diameter, 750 miles away. That's and just imagine that crossing in front of it. The Kepler was able to detect the changes in the light brightness from that tiny, tiny bit of interference, and the James Webb will be able to see the following. It'll be able to see when the planet first starts to cross in front of its star. It will be able to see that first edge of any atmosphere on that planet starting to cross onto the star. Then the rest of the planet follows, okay? Mm-hmm. And then the end of that planet follows. Now the planet's fully in transit over the star. And then as it gets to the other side, all right, the edge of the planet starts to go off. And then finally, as it leaves, that extra little bit of the atmosphere will be seen just at the last moment. Now, just imagine seeing that quarter 750 miles away and trying to see a tiny, 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 tiny thing crossing in front of that quarter. All right, something that's 50 times smaller than the quarter, and as it crosses onto the star, you catch the little edge of its atmosphere, and you can analyze that little edge of the atmosphere. And when you do, it tells you whether there's oxygen or methane, okay, in the atmosphere.
In other words,
that would indicate there's life.
Sensitive stuff.
It is, but that's what we're up against. You see. Right. That's what we're up against.
That's kind of like the thing I used to tell people when they said, "Hey, point the telescope at the Apollo sites," and it's like you would have to, like, say if you were in a straight line, you would have to take a telescope on top of the tallest building in New York and put a quarter on the tallest building in southern Florida and try to see it. It's the same principle. It's just the resolution is not there.
Yeah,
we don't have a scope big enough. You need a scope of 220 meters. To see it now, we could point all of our telescopes at one time at it, but that's just a complete waste of telescope time.
Well, you still wouldn't show it.
Conspiracy people.
Yeah, you still wouldn't be able to show it.
Plus, when we have a lunar reconnaissance orbiter orbiting the planet, sending back video
as low as 30 miles above the moon, as a matter of fact.
Exactly. So it's like, what can you do? You're still going to have people ask.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Show me the Apollo site. Show me the flag. Show me the footprints. It's like, our optics ain't that good.
Well, actually, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has, at 30 miles above the lunar surface, it was able to image the lunar landing sites. Yep. That we never actually got to.
JAXA as well.
Yeah, exactly. And when it imaged the sites, I could actually discern the American flags sticking up with their shadow on some of the sites, especially the ones that were done from 30 miles up. Yeah. I could see the actual shadow, and I could see the American flags. And you could see the ALSEP, A-L-S-E-P, the ALSEP experiments. You could see the other experiments. You could see the shadows of the descent stages and the descent stages from the lunar modules themselves.
Yeah, and Astronomy Livestream makes a good point. Our atmosphere is the major killer of telescopes, which is why you mostly see these big, giant telescopes being built on mountains, the top of, highest points, just to get less atmosphere between it and what it's trying to look at, which will be, anything in space, just to get less of that atmospheric layer. For anybody new watching that didn't know that, that's why they put, telescopes on hills and visual telescopes anyway.
Right. You just got to get up above the atmosphere. And interestingly, at 25,000 feet, you're kind of above about half the atmosphere on the Earth. Mm. Then it tapers off from there. So Mauna Kea in Hawaii is at 13,700 feet. Yep. So people that visit there will need oxygen for their first visits. And when it's 85 degrees down in the Hawaiian beaches there, climb the mountain, and it'll be easily 28 degrees, 30 degrees, and frigid.
What you want to know also as an interesting fact for people in the chat, which is also why you get your clearest images of anything you want to see in space when it's straight up. It's what we call the zenith.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and, it's a straight up point. You think, have you guys ever seen the moon when it's coming up at the horizon and it looks absolutely huge? There is a professional scientific term for that, and that is called
an illusion.
Pretty much. But there's a name for it.
I don't know what you're looking for with that, because there's a number of things we call it. What
go through them all?
Oh God, it's just an illusion because it's the same diameter.
Yeah, but it looks absolutely huge, and it's kind of being magnified by the it's a whole visual thing. But that's why when we do these moon streams, we try to get it when the moon is getting close to zenith, because that's when it's going to be the best time for us to see it, when it's as straight up as it's going to be. For us, because we're looking through the least amount of atmosphere. Now, Paul does this amazing thing, and I'm not still baffled by it. That you see this on here. He's doing this from sea level, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
he's in Miami.
Yeah, and still getting amazing views. Now tonight we got some clouds going over, but when you get those nice, crisp, clear nights that we get once in a blue moon, wink, wink. We get very, very good imaging. And right now he is employing a 70 millimeter and an 80 millimeter refractor scopes for these wide fields that you're looking at now. His main go-to is the 9.25 Celestron CPC. But he also now we have the 10-inch HD, the 11-inch, the 12-inch Meade, which are all going to be put to use coming up in the next month when we start doing the Jupiter and Saturn streams. We weren't able to test the 12-inch yet with good conditions anyway, and we think it's a little too much for the moon with the custom camera that he has, but they're really going to come in handy for the Jupiter and Saturn streams, and I cannot wait to do those. So if there's any reason to subscribe, we're looking for a Saturn and Jupiter, they're coming. In about a month's time, we'll start doing those in between the moon streams.
Yeah, and I'll come on and tell you all about the reasons why they look the way they do, and some of the history of these planets. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
See, science is for everybody, Keith. You know this, and that's why we did. That's why Sky Tour Radio was. We were number 3. When we broadcast our inaugural broadcast was number 3.
You know what it is too? I mean, I find as people get older, they get more interested into learning stuff that they didn't, or they didn't really have a care for back when they were younger.
And they like factual data, facts that make sense, that they can sink their teeth into.
Yeah. And a lot of it they can test themselves.
Yeah, that's actually right. That's right. Exactly right. Yep.
Science does not discriminate.
No. And also, science doesn't care what you believe. So, you have to be prepared to be, trashed by the science that you don't wish to believe. I mean, that's...
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, we didn't... I had... Here at the observatory, when we were trying to stream... or actually not stream, but I was just trying to get some clear nights to get some visual stuff done so that I could do this. I was actually going to record everything and upload it as an after-the-fact stream. But you know what? It was December 20th when they shut down my stream, until March 20th. Okay. And then when I was thinking, great, I'm not going to be able to stream any time between now and then. That's going to really sting. Well, guess what? There hasn't been any nights when I could have streamed. The temperature when it was gorgeous and clear out was minus 25. It's like, you can't run a telescope in that temperature, actually. The telescope is not meant to run in minus 25. It can run in 0, all right? Mm-hmm. If you're willing to, if you have a heated flak suit on so that you can stay warm, but you got to make sure that you're insulated well, because your heat waves can't go out into the dome, because then that goes up through the shutter hole, the opening that the telescope's looking through, and causes disrupted air. You have to have the telescope in a dome as cold as the outside air. So what's the purpose of the dome? Just to prevent the wind from ripping through, and it also provides a weather cover. and I've got a very high-end computer out there. I've got a
But it also allows you to keep it outside where you don't have that temperature differential from having it inside, having to bring it outside, and having that downtime.
Yes, that's right. I mean the acclimation time. But I can tell you this. I'm just going to adjust my mic here. I can tell you this: when you have it outside for all this time, and it's always cold, and then it slowly warms up and slowly cools off, that's more healthy for it than having it inside a heated house and then taking it outside.
Do you find it like big temperature? Like say one day like it was when I was up there, it was like 3 degrees.
Yeah.
And like say the next day, a warm front comes through and it's like 55, 60.
And that has happened.
And it goes, that for a couple days, and all of a sudden it goes back down into the 20s. Do you find that you're doing a lot more collimating because of that?
No. And the reason is because once it acclimates, it goes right back to where it was. I'll tell you what I do find I do. Okay, first of all, in the dome, I have a moisture collection system. That is a passive collector that will actually soak up the water that's airborne, the humidity in the air, basically. Because if you don't have that, you go to turn on your telescope. If it's humid inside the telescope, then you have a chance that any water droplets that form will have formed on one of the circuit boards in there.
Oh yeah, Paul can tell you stories. I mean,
I would imagine he's in Miami. He's in humid hell. I mean, if you want to call it that.
Yep.
Double H. Well, so I actually have that moisture reclaimer, basically. Well, you saw it.
Yep.
And it sits right on the pier, and it's sealed up with the telescope underneath the telescope cloth. And that's something that is very important because you need that. And then I have the computer on the floor, and a couple things happened in the past 2 month and a half, actually. We had wind come through here, a very, very violent wind, and I heard this rip, boom, crash. I was like, oh no, what was that? I looked out the window in this vicious snowstorm in the middle of a blizzard conditions. And I see the shutter on my dome has been ripped off and is out in the field next to my observatory. And the snow is just piling into the observatory, on the telescope, on the computer. And so it didn't have electricity. I shut off the power whenever I'm not in there. And all you could do is just watch it. And I waited for the storm to abate and go away. I went out there. I literally went out with a snow shovel, opened up the dome, and started shoveling snow out of the dome. Okay, it filled it up with drifts and all that. And when I unburied the computer, snow had gone inside the computer. It filled the computer with snow. So I'm like, now most people would say, oh no, it's ruined. I knew that if we kept it at the same temperature and cleaned it while it was very, very cold, nothing would be wrong.
Yep.
So I disconnected all the cables. I put them in a plastic bag. brought the computer into the house to my workshop, which was also very cold. All right, and the temperature in my shop was 39 degrees. The temperature that I brought it out from was around 15. All right, and I put it up on top of a table, and I took a dust off with a compressor, and I blew all the snow out of the computer. I blew it until I blew on the computer until there was no water left at all in the computer or the power supply. Just kept going for about half an hour, and by doing that, I then set it on the side in my office here for about 4 days. When I started it up, started right up like a champ, and it's been fine ever since. So don't panic if it gets covered in snow. As long as there's no power, almost any electrical circuit, look, a blue moon, almost any electrical circuit will be recoverable as long as it doesn't have power going to it when it gets wet or snowy. So then I had to fix the shutters. So to fix the shutters, those are the things that open to let the telescope look out, right? So I actually talked to the observatory company, and they immediately sent me 2 new shutter doors, because the shutter doors that close on the dome were literally torn to pieces. They were broken and smashed. So it took about 2 weeks. Now, luckily, during that time, the temperature never rose above 32 degrees. So it was always painfully cold. So the telescope had always been covered. You know, I covered the telescope and the pier, plastic, and it has that water reclaiming thing on the pier under the plastic. So the telescope stayed nice and dry the whole time, even though it was getting snowed on. And then when I got the shutters, I waited for one day where it was about 35. It was almost felt like t-shirt and shorts weather when you compare it to 3 degrees and minus 10. So I went out there and whistled while I worked, and I put on the new shutters. And then I installed a system I created to actually hold the shutters down from the inside. And now the observatory maker wants to actually employ my changes, I think, to their shutters. Anyway, so you see, the observatory has had its share of issues. Right now, it's fully intact. Everything's fine in there. But, you know, something will happen, perhaps. Yeah. But, you know, the building can withstand high winds, but now it can, actually. Before, it couldn't. Yeah.
Oh, man.
All because of an atmosphere.
Just yeah, guys. I mean, astronomy is not a cheap hobby. I mean, it's the only thing that makes you spend more money to protect all the money you already spent. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the building was thousands of dollars, you know, to put it up. But I've always wanted to do that.
Right.
Always wanted to, because
why not?
Well, you know, the observatory is called John Zach Memorial Observatory, and you know, it's called that for a very important reason. My friend John Zach and I bought the telescope gear, and we were going to put the observatory here. I was going to provide the land and the observatory building. He was going to provide the telescope and some of the gear. Right. So he bought the telescope and some of the gear. I got the building and the land, and basically we were going to do this together. Unfortunately, my friend John died of cancer. And for 4 years, I just sat on this telescope and just thought, man, I can't ever. I'll have to sell it. You know, I actually offered it back to his estate because I had the telescope here. Right. I offered it back to his estate, and they said, no, you keep it. You know, he has you getting it in his will. I went, all right. I mean, I tried to give it back many times, actually, because I felt that's not mine. I mean, he bought that. That was for him. Give it to, you know, his relatives. But he apparently wanted me to have it. So I was really humbled by that and very happy. So that's why I named the observatory after him. You know, John Zach Memorial Observatory. I had a little dedication ceremony and stuff for John. And, you know, he was a good guy. You know, he was a programmer. He was a computer guy. And he was going to do some of the image processing stuff. In fact, we wrote an image processing program together several years back, and it was actually used by the Hubble Space Telescope Institute to do processing on the photos early on. So that was pretty cool. And it was called Process Pro.
Speaking of that, I just so you know, I did email Astronomy Live about his tracking stuff. I'm just waiting for him to get back to me.
Very good, because very good. Yep. Hey, did you ever tell people about that? You know, one moon cycle of Tycho video?
No, not yet. It's gonna go. It's gonna go when the video comes up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take a little bit of break on a mic, refill coffees, you know, do natural business if you have to do natural business. And then we'll come back and go for the home stretch.
What the hell is natural business? That's fine.
Whatever you want it to be.
All right. I'll start texting.
So yeah, we'll take a little bit of a break, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.
I'll go talk to a parrot named Carmen. Hey.
With Mr. Marc D'Antonio of everything. We'll mention everything when we come back live, and we'll promote Marc out the wazoo like we always do.
It doesn't matter. I mean, hey, you know.
Amen. All right, guys, we will be back shortly. It's time for a coffee break. Smoke them if you got them. We will be right back.
By the way, do you hear that?
Hello.
Oh, hello, 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 hello.
Hello. We are back.
Hey, Mo.
Oh, I guess I should mute that stream, shouldn't I?
You think?
There we go. Yeah, a little bit. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, let's go through people in chat and give some shout-outs to people. We haven't done that in a while. Let's see. I'm just going to go off the participant list, so if I don't say you when you are in here, don't blame me, blame YouTube. So, all right, we got Apocalypse, and of course we got Astronomy Livestream. Check out that channel. Awesome astronomy on there as well. And Ben and Brandon and Carl and Chico and Chinmay and David and D and another D and Drew the Gamer, the Gaming Master. Game Freak, Gravity Curious, Hash Heaven, Ice, I Lord Jesus, Jesus Rodriguez. I'm pretty sure that probably is Zeus.
It's Jesus.
Yeah. Kakarot. Kakarot? I think I'm saying it right. Kenshiro and Kent and Christy and Metal Slugs Master and Orlando and Patrick and Poker Chump and Rockstar and Silver D, Soldier TV, Starseed, Starzar, Stargazing, Steve's Auto and Trucks, Tara, the Blues Man, Vanessa, Venus, Weird Guy, Wildfire, Willie Johnson. That's who I got on the participant list in the chat. And once again, thank you to everybody that's participating in chat and everybody that's watching nice and quietly that maybe has it cast to their nice big screen TVs, just loafing on the couch. Welcome. Joining me tonight is Mr. Marc D'Antonio from NASA's Unexplained Files, What on Earth, Sky Tour Radio on KGRA, Sky Tour Livestream on YouTube, MUFONs, everything, man. Am I missing anything?
You know, it doesn't matter because I can't even remember half the things. Because I guess when you look at, just like you sum up all the things you've done, you realize, wow, you know, I guess in some ways there's a lot of things that I'm sort of involved with. You know, I'm also the UFOTOG 2 guy, right?
UFOTOG 2.
And UFOTOG 2 is that remote
talking about that
UFO hunting system
coming in the future.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of good stuff. Right now, we're approaching Zenith. Paul is on the big cam. I don't have the scopes up tonight like we normally do. Normally on these streams, I have what scope is currently being used up in the right-hand corner. But because we're simulcasting on KGRA's YouTube tonight, the KGRA banner is up there tonight instead. Once again, we're approaching Zenith. We're getting there to the top viewing. Looks like the clouds have calmed down a little bit. You still see some going by here and there. The air is still very active, and for anybody that doesn't know, full moons are absolutely horrible for imaging. We're doing it because it's the super blue blood moon.
And that's why he's actually on the edge of the moon, because you can still see some shadows.
Right, that's the only place we're actually going to get some contrast where it just doesn't look totally whitewashed and, you know, ridiculous. I mean, even Aristarchus, if you look right now, it just looks like a complete flat, washed out thing. But if you notice in the next week or so, Aristarchus is going to come alive, and it's going to be very contrasted and very nice to look at.
And it's going to go walking across the surface of the moon.
Absolutely. So welcome everybody. We're decided to broadcast this live for you tonight, and tomorrow night, and the night after that, and the night after that, and basically any clear nights during the moon cycle. You know, we're good for about 12 streams a month currently until, say, mid-February, late February. And then we'll be doing a lot more streams because then we will have our Jupiter and Saturn streams in between moon cycles. So that's going to be fun. I'm not sure what astronomy live stream is saying. P&K, buy my math.
Oh, buy my math.
Yeah.
We said, yeah.
Okay. Yes. He is absolutely right. We will not have the eclipse because, number one, he's on the East Coast. And number two, your best bet. Now, astronomy, our live stream.
He's in Colorado, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure if he's going to be streaming it.
He's going to see some of it. He'll see more of it than we do. Yeah.
So, if you're going to stream, Dave, let us know that we could point everybody over there for the actual eclipse if you're going to stream it later. I'm not sure exactly what time it's happening out your way, out there in Colorado, but yeah, no problem. We'd point everybody in your direction if you were going to stream it. Not sure what your weather's looking like out there. I know it's been kind of crazy lately, but right now you're getting a nice look at Pythagoras crater. That is not.
It is beautiful.
It is not a
A
giant gun in the middle of a crater. It's not an anti-alien craft gun.
No, it's actually a highly foreshortened complex crater. Now, a complex crater.
Watch. I'm gonna take this image right now.
Yes.
And we're gonna dump out all the whitewash and see if we can't get some contrast to it. And even still, you'll be able to tell just the amount of movement in the air is still gonna make it wobbly. But you'll get a better peek out of it. And once again, it's not a giant gun in the middle of a crater.
Nope. It's a beautiful complex crater. It almost
looks like an old movie, like how the atmosphere is tonight. It's kind of nutty.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
With the amount of contrast you got to put on just to get some sort of detail. Now we can do this because we're on the edge right now. If we were in the center of the moon, it would never work.
It wouldn't do anything.
Never work. So we see that nice little blinking light up there over the horizon. That's probably aliens. Let's not worry about that. Let's just pretend like we didn't see it.
And just ignore Keith.
Yeah. Gotta have some fun sometime, don't we?
Yeah.
Anyway. But, yeah. So not too bad. I mean, at least it's clear. I mean, the clouds somewhat moved out. We're approaching the zenith. We're getting there pretty quick. Probably in the next 10, 15 minutes or so, we should be directly above. And after that, we'll probably wrap up for the night and pass it off to hopefully somebody that's streaming off the West Coast. I'm not sure if anybody is. I know Rockstar said he was getting some stuff. Rock, are you streaming the eclipse at all? Or no? Let us know in the chat, because then I'll point people your direction if they want to see the actual eclipse. So, yeah, it's more of a West Coast thing this year.
Yeah.
But we get, the blue moon, which for people that don't know, that's when you have 2 full moons in 1 month.
That's right.
Which is it's common, but not really that common. Which, if you ever heard the term "once in a blue moon," now you understand that reference. And for the first time in a while, there's not going to be a full moon in February.
Well, it's only got 28 days, and the moon said, "Wait, what happened?" And that's it. The moon, the month passed.
Yep. So no full moon for the month of February, but you do have 2 full ones in January.
Do we call that a red moon or something like that? A green moon when it's no new moon, no full moon in a month? Got to have a name for that, right?
I'm not sure if they have a name for that.
No, I'm saying we should make a name for that.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, then we'll leave it up to chat. Okay, you guys in chat, what do you want to call it when there happens to be no full moon in a month that's going to be going on in February? Well, we're taking ideas. We're going to see which one we're going to adapt into our official term for a month with no full moon. I can't wait to see the ideas on this one, because January's moon is what? The first full moon of January is usually called. Is that the wolf moon or is that February?
I don't know those cultural names.
Oh, well, you got the beaver moon in December. I think it's the wolf moon. The snow moon. There's a snow moon in January, and then the wolf moon in February. I don't know, but right now we're looking for a name for a month that does not have, and of course we're going to relay it to the moon, because as you have beaver moon, full snow moon, so it's got to be something with moon in the title. But we're just going to name it this because there's no full moon in that month. Crimson moon, that's decent. That sounds pretty good. That was from Venus.
That's
elusive moon.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, elusive moon. Yeah,
elusive moon. Dark moon. Toilet paper moon. Why not?
Who said that?
The blood moon. The thing about the blood moon, yeah, what happens is, why they call it the blood moon is when you have an eclipse, the moon turns kind of red-ish. That's why they call it the blood moon. The dark moon, blind moon. That's actually not too bad.
I like that one.
Zay Summers, blind moon. Dingleberry moon. Kent must be drinking tonight. Let's see. I don't know. I kind of like that blind moon. Wise moon. Chronicle moon. Not too bad, guys. So we had the blind moon, and what was the other one?
Blind moon. Then we had elusive moon.
Elusive moon. So blind moon and elusive moon are two favorites right now.
Yeah. Can someone do better than blind and elusive?
Illusion moon, says legendary. The moon of life and death. Where's the paper boy?
Ghostly moon.
The Herbert moon.
Now, Chris.
Where's the moon go?
Oh, Shy Moon. That's a good one.
Yeah, Shy Moon. That's a good
Shy
one.
Moon's a nice one. Lost Moon. Okay,
Man, I should be writing these down. What's wrong with
you? Oh, the chat will be here.
Mark, give me a pen.
Okay, here. Wait, I'm 180 miles away from you.
Got it. That's a good one. Okay, so we don't want to go with the Herbert moon, right? So we're going with elusive moon and Shy moon and what was the other one, Mark?
Elusive.
Elusive, Shy, and the other one.
Blind.
Blind. Elusive, Shy, and blind. I still don't have a piece of paper. I come to class unprepared.
Oh, I tell you, man. You're gonna have to.
You're the one with the studio up there. You should be writing this stuff down.
Well, I remember it.
Okay, elusive, Shy, and blind, right?
Well, there's also Dead Moon.
Shy, blind. You said dead.
There's someone said dead and Lover's Moon. Someone said Lover's Moon. I guess.
Ooh, that's actually applicable.
That's kind of an interesting take on it because you're hiding, in the dark.
How about Mischief Moon?
Mischief Moon's nice. Has a nice MM thing there. The M&M play.
Okay, the Mischief Moon.
Steve's Auto and Trucks. Camo Moon. That's cute.
Hey, that's actually applicable.
Yeah.
Camo Moon. Okay. Yeah, Elusive Moon sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other ones? Fluid Moon, Delusion Moon.
Yeah.
Winking Moon.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. We're not going to call the moon Crack Dust Moon.
Yeah.
Delusion Moon. Yeah, well, that's funny. Winking Moon. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Ghost Moon. Oh, Ghost Moon. That's a good one.
Yeah, I told you about that one.
Oh, did you?
Oh, maybe you didn't hear it. Okay. Enchanted Moon. Somebody mentioned it. I mentioned
it. Classified Moon. Enchanted Moon. 21 Savage wants Horny Moon, I guess, for some reason. Secret Moon. Masked Moon.
Yeah.
Moon Day Moon.
Yep.
I think we got some good ones here.
I like that. Jesus. Top Secret Moon. I like that one.
Top Secret.
Yeah, that's just funny. I don't think that would actually work, for real, but I like it. It's just cute. Looney Moon. That's too close to Looney Tunes. Evergreen. I know, that's pretty cool.
Underwear Moon.
Undercover Moon.
Dave, you've been in school way too long. Mr. Schmidt.
Yeah, Moon River.
Oh, by the way, Mr. David Schmidt, I added your coffee cup, by the way. Just so you know. Just a heads up. Just for you, there is a coffee cup there. Blue Balls Moon. Cheesecake. Okay. I think we got illicit. That's a good one. Illicit Moon.
Illicit Moon? That's sort of like illegal.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Where's the moon go? Okay, we're gonna go what we have here. Here's our choices. Okay.
Yeah, Cole, you got to. You're coming up with these ones that they're funny, but I don't think we could ever use them.
Yeah.
You realize you're gonna submit these,
Here we go.
No, we're not. I'm kidding.
We're gonna
Memory
do these.
Memory Moon.
We're gonna do these in banks of 3. Okay. So I'm gonna give you 3, and you're gonna choose the best out of those 3 until we eventually get down to 1. Okay. So bank number 1. It's between elusive, shy, and blind. Which one out of those 3 do you guys like the best? Elusive Moon, Shy Moon, and Blind Moon. Which one of those 3? Start counting, Mark. We're actually going to make this a title for next month.
That'd be pretty cool. Oh, Houdini Moon. You got to add that one to the list.
No, it's already closed off. We got 3. We got 9 total.
Oh, okay.
We're doing it in banks of 3. Right now, we are voting on elusive, shy, and blind. Which one is the best out of those 3?
Okay, I got 1 for blind.
Okay.
2 for blind.
2 for blind.
3 for blind.
3 for blind. Oh, wow, we got a lot of elusives coming up.
4 for blind. 5 for blind. 6 blind. 7 blind. 2 more for elusive.
That's close.
3 for shy. Oh, more blind. Another blind, I mean. Are you tallying these? Because I'm just kind of... Okay,
I'm
good.
Italian.
Okay, and we have elusive. We have an elusive. Another elusive. Shy. 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 Blind. Steve, you only get 1 vote.
We're gonna call it.
I bet you it's Blind Moon.
It is
Another for blind. 1 for the Only God Moon.
Done.
Okay.
12, 11, 22. As a 12, 11, 22 on the stream, here's what we got. Elusive got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 for elusive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for shy. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for blind. Elusive wins it by 1.
Really?
Yep. Elusive wins it by 1. Okay, next poll. Here we go. And guys, make sure you're clicked on live, so you're listening live. And I'll give you like a minute to do this. If you hover your cursor or whatever you're watching on over the video, you'll see a little area down by your volume. This is live. Make sure that's lit up with a red mark next to it. If not, click it so you're the same time as everybody else. You're in the live feed. Okay, so I'll give that to them, and then we'll do the next 3. So elusive wins that one.
Okay, voting has stopped. Elusive has won for the first 3. So now we're gonna do the next 3, and
we're gonna start the next 3 at.
Here come the next 3.
We're gonna start counting at 12, 13. Okay, and the 3 are dead, lovers, and mischief. Dead, lovers, and mischief. We're going to start counting at 12:13 by the YouTube time. Okay?
Ding, 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 ding. It is still your turn.
Get ready, Mark. I'm ready with the thing.
Yeah, but they vote so fast.
Dead, lovers, and mischief. Dead, lovers, and mischief. And this vote will be over at 12:15. 0-0.
I don't see it. Okay, there's 1 for mischief.
Okay.
All right, I'll just say it. Okay, lovers, lovers, mischief. None of the above. Dead, 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 dead. Dead, dead. No, it's going so fast. Dead, dead. Lovers, lovers, mischief, lovers, lover. It's gotta be lovers, not lover. Sorry, request denied. Okay, dead. Blind melon. That's spelled. Mischief. Dead, dead. Mischief. Mischief. Lovers. Dead, dead, dead. What am I doing? This is crazy. Dead. Mischief. Dead. And we're watching several people.
Okay, guys, this one, we don't even have to go that far because Dead has won this one. Okay. And thank you for making Mark say dead at least 15 times.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
My dog is sitting there going, what have I done wrong?
Starting at 12:15, YouTube clock time. Well, on YouTube, not on me and Mark's time, but 12:15. Here we go. Camo, Ghost, or Top Secret. Camo, Ghost, or Top Secret. Starting at 12:15, 0-0. It's between those 3. And get her done. Camo, Ghost, and Top Secret.
Livers? There's no such thing as livers. Okay, we stopped voting on lovers and all the others. Now it's Camo, Ghost, and Top Secret.
Okay. Got one for Camo, one for Ghost.
Ghost, Ghost, Camo, Ghost, Camo, Camo. Ghost, 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 Camo, Camo.
It's a close one.
Ghostly is not correct. Ghost, 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 Macaroon. No, that's not in there. Ghost, Gassed. Ghost, Ghost. Yeah, it's no longer close. Ghost, Camo, Ghost, Ghost, Ghost.
Okay, Ghost is taking this one. I mean, easy.
Ghost, Ghost.
Easy. All right, here comes the final round.
Yeah, I couldn't see just how many. I couldn't see just how many came through.
Okay, for the final round, what we're gonna name the month that there is no full moon.
Name the month.
Any month that doesn't have a full moon, we're gonna call the moon this.
Ah, okay, that's what the moon's gonna be. Okay.
And our choices
what are the choices, please?
Okay. I'm gonna do this, but I'm looking at my clock here. So when it's actually happening here for me, it'll happen on the stream. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So this one will be starting at 12:18. We'll start counting. So don't put anything until you see that YouTube clock up in the left-hand corner hit 12:17 or 12:18. I'm sorry, 12:18. And our choices are, for the win, Elusive, Dead, and Ghost. Elusive, Dead, and Ghost. The elusive moon, the dead moon, the ghost moon. Out of those three, voting is on, starting at 12:18:00 from the clock in the top left corner of your screen. This is going to be fun to keep up with. Last one, Mark.
Yep.
This is actually kind of fun. We're naming stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we're naming shit. Hey, we're naming stuff. Okay, yeah, okay. Hey, let's then we're gonna name that crater we're looking at right there. No, sorry.
12:18. Go for it, people. Elusive,
Begin.
Dead, and Ghost. Which one? Elusive, Dead, and Ghost. Elusive, Dead, and Ghost. Elusive, Dead, Ghost. Give it to us. Starting. All right. Go. Give it to me, Mark. Give it to me, big boy.
All right, we got elusive, ghost, elusive, ghost, elusive, ghost. Someone said ghost times 2. No. Elusive, ghost, dead, ghost, elusive. I had my feeling for that. I thought something was going to win. I won't say it though. Elusive, ghost, elusive, ghost, ghost, elusive. Okay, ghost, elusive. I still like winking. No. Ghost, and no, not bouillabaisse. I'm sorry. Ghost, ghost. And everybody is now dead mooning, and there's no response.
I think we just blew up chat.
I think so. I think chat's frozen. No, it's not.
Ladies and gentlemen, we blew up chat. They couldn't handle. They
it's,
couldn't handle
it's
the amount.
still here. Okay,
All
ghost.
All right.
Elusive. And before you tally the votes, I'll tell you what I was thinking.
All right.
Elusive.
I'm letting them go to 12:20 YouTube time.
Elusive.
All right, last 10 seconds. Here it comes. Last 10 seconds. Anybody else? Anybody?
I'm waiting.
Anybody?
Ghost. Blind. Shut up.
My bad. And that's it. Voting is
All
over.
right.
All right, let me tally these up real quick. Keep them entertained while I tally.
Now, here's what I was thinking. I was thinking that elusive would win because elusive actually sounds like a proper astronomical name that you'd actually get. You actually might get. You know.
Yep. Okay. No way. No way.
No, there's no tie. Don't even tell me that.
No way. 17-17, Ghost and Elusive.
Wow.
Jeez. If that one person that voted dead would have picked one of those, we're good. So, should we do the old coin flip?
I think maybe we should do either a elusive ghost off, or we should do a ghost elusive off. I mean, we should probably do one more vote with everybody, but that's okay. Yeah, do a coin flip. The heck with it. We're doing a coin flip.
We had everybody participate up till now.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know,
that's fine. Yeah, do what you want. It's your show.
17-17. Wow. Okay.
Then they have to trust you that you flipped the coin right.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay. Yeah, Jello, we were taking into account the delay. That's why I was starting it on my clock, not so it would transfer over to YouTube. All right, so we have a tie, 17-17. Which ways to do this? You know what? I might as well get a little something out of this here. Here's what we're gonna do. Or should we just do it? Okay. As you know what? I think we should be the deciding factor.
Oh, wait.
Vote, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. What is your vote, Mark?
I vote for the elusive moon. ELUSIVE, elusive moon.
You son of a... All right, guys, we're still tied.
What? Oh my god!
No,
you went
kidding.
for ghost?
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I am elusive. I just wanted to see what you could say. Elusive moon wins.
Elusive moon.
The February moon next month, being that there is no full moon, we are going to call it the elusive moon.
So the stream will be elusive moon stream when we actually have.
So now, does anybody remember the person that first said elusive, who gave us the idea for elusive moon? Without lying about it, guys, who was the real person that actually gave us that word?
Oh, you gonna do a giveaway or something here?
Yeah, I was gonna give him. A
bumper sticker.
I was gonna give him a observatory up in Connecticut.
Oh well, you know what? I kind of beg to differ that I don't think that's a good enough gift.
Well,
they deserve more. They deserve 12 telescopes in Miami.
What? Yeah, seriously. Who? Anybody know? Was it Jello? Did Jello say elusive? Seriously, Jello, was it you? He said it was him. I don't know.
Well,
he's always joking around, so I have no idea.
Yeah,
Can't take that guy seriously.
He's not even there anymore.
Yeah. Next thing he'll come in as Obsessed House and tell us it was him. Okay, what's up, Paul? Sorry, Paul, we were busy.
Nightmare's looking for it for us. He's checking it out.
Let's see. What time is it? All right. I have to tell him. Sorry, we were naming
voting
the moon. I totally wasn't paying attention to my phone. Okay. Did Jello say it was him?
Jello's not here.
Yeah, he's in chat.
Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Jello.
Yeah, I don't know who it was. Seriously. But whoever it was, thank you. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to have, next month, we're going to be calling it the elusive moon. So, good job,
I like
guys.
that.
That's some good participation. Good. Bravo. Bravo to P&K chat on the participation. You all get a trophy.
Wow, that's pretty good.
It's a mental.
And let me guess,
trophy.
you're gonna offer them all 3D printed craters from FX models.
I was actually thinking about offering the person that actually said it, but was it? Okay, D told me it was Jello. So that's awesome. We don't have to give him nothing.
That's so funny. Listen, you heard it here, folks.
He is under my employ.
That's awesome. We don't have to give him nothing.
I'll talk.
What do you mean he's under your employ?
I gotta talk to Jello offline anyway about the whole voiceover stuff. So, yeah, but yeah, good job, Jello. That was a good one. Elusive Moon just beat out Ghost Moon. It was tied up until us two decided to put our votes in. Yep. With that being said,
and I just gotta say, Dave Schmidt, I see you're taking off because you have class coming up. Thanks, man. Thanks for joining. I am so happy you joined, and it was a pleasure to talk to you, kind of, sort of, through the chat and through P&K Space Imaging.
Absolutely.
You're only home for lunar imaging.
Thank you to everybody who has joined us tonight, because what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to wrap, because Mr. Paul, like most of us, have jobs that we have to go to in the morning. So we're up late. Don't worry. We'll be back tomorrow night.
And I put
once again.
I put the link to Sky Tour live stream in the chat if you'd like to join and check out the deep sky side of astronomy. Absolutely. And we love visiting the deep sky sites and look at these beautiful objects, and I tell you all about them. We learn all about the objects themselves, what they are, where they come from, what they're going to change to and from. It's really a fun time.
Yep.
So come and join us. Amanda Curran is my co-host there, as she is my co-host for the Sky Tour Radio on KGRA online, kgraradio.com.
Good crowd tonight. Awesome people tonight. I hope a lot of you come back and join us tomorrow night, and not only that, on future streams. We don't always have Marc with us, but when we do, it's always a bunch of fun, and we make him repeat a lot of words. Tons and tons and tons.
Hey, can you say that word like Mooney again? Mooney. Thank you. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's most of the time it's just me sitting here going, Marc said Uranus.
Oh, he couldn't resist. He had to turn it into an 18+ stream. Man,
hey,
he's something else.
You know what? If it wasn't for Uranus jokes, I wouldn't be dirty. Zing.
Hey, you remember that song Star Trekking Across the Universe on the Starship Enterprise with Captain Kirk?
No,
Star Trekking across the universe. We never going, always going forward because we can't find reverse. All right, and then there's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow. Scrape them off, Jim. It's a really funny song. Okay, you had to be there.
We just had to kill this whole stream, didn't we?
Hey, come on. It was wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up. I'm just going to throw on some music, and then we'll take her down, and then we'll be out. Join us tomorrow night for Love Lines.
And we're Marc. Oh, yeah, right. Oh, yeah, that'll work. I look forward to seeing some of you over, if you choose to, on Sky Tour live stream with me. And please tune into kgraradio.com and check out Sky Tour Radio Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk about the universe through a scientific lens.
Absolutely. And for myself, Keith from P&K, and Marc D'Antonio, we will check you guys next time. Starting tomorrow night, the weather should be great, and we will see you then. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Good night.